Yo, what's up? Welcome to Diabolical Souls Presents. I'm Gooch. I'm your host. And tonight we go over episode 4 of Arcane as we continue going over each episode. And we got a full list of guests tonight. So it's going to be a fun night tonight. But before we get there, I just want to say a quick, thank you to everyone that's supporting the channel. And if you could, be a friend, tell a friend about Diabolical Souls Presents and subscribe to the channel. And hit that like button, leave a comment. They always love that. The YouTube loves comments, and that'd be great if you guys could do that. And let's start bringing up the guests. Let's get this thing going. So let's start off with the one that started it all off when we started doing these reviews. Amateur analyst, what's going on there, brother?
Hello.
How's
I'm good. Glad to be back up in the snow-capped north. Been shoveling all day, but looking forward to kick back and talking about a really good show. So
yeah, episode 4 is a good one. So well, let's bring out the next guy. He's part of the pack here. So let's bring out Stupenzo. What's going on there, bro?
It's going. How are you guys doing?
the energy. You guys are bringing the energy. Just like, I'm good. I'm really happy to be here.
I'm chilling. Chilling like a villain. How's it going? It's gonna be a long one, maybe, or not really. I don't know.
Well, we thought that was episode 3, but we kind of went through that one pretty good. So
good.
Cool. Well, let's bring out the other part of the pack here. Actually, Andrew, what's going on there, brother? He's eating.
Are these popcorn chips again?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, whoa! Is it the same bag?
Yeah, actually, I still.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
I thought you were already working on another bag. I was like, wow.
Oh
okay.
no. Good trip.
Well, thanks for joining us, Andrew. It's greatly appreciated again. Let's bring out the man himself, the man from across the sea, Mr. Platoon. How's it going there, Mr. Platoon?
Whoa. Good evening. All good, thank you. How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
I'm good. I'm looking forward to breaking down this episode. This is a good episode. What's the That's the.
Oh no. Yeah, all the episodes are good. It's Arcane, obviously, but I don't know. I think this is probably one of the weaker episodes. Not just by comparison with 3. There's a few more problems in it that pop up that you don't like more than you expect from the show's norm.
This episode was kind of jarring for me. At the beginning of it, I was like, "Whoa, time jump!" I've said this before on previous episodes. It took me a while because I'm a big dum dum to realize what had happened. I was like, "How far ahead are we?"
Yeah, we'll get into it right away here. Well, let's bring on Mr. Heimerdinger, Hostman. What's going on there, bro?
Well, hello, everyone. I hope that my university-trained mind can hopefully bring some insights that were previously not made before about this episode.
Wow. And he's still in character. All right. Well, thanks for joining us there, Hostman.
No
I hope things are going well.
Yeah, everything's going good.
And then finally, we have Zachary from Zachary's Art. Zachary Moa. What's going on with Zach?
I'm doing all right.
Good. Thanks for joining us. I know I asked you to watch the series. I said you're going to love it, and you got back to me and said I need to be on this show. So
Absolutely.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts. So yeah, tonight we're going to go over episode 4. This one, I just lost my thing here.
Happy Progress Day.
Yeah, happy
Is that what
Progress.
it's called?
Or
Yeah.
as you humans call it, Pride Month.
Yeah, we have a whole month.
Let me bring this up for everyone. Okay, I don't know why that happened. Okay, so episode 4, Happy Progress Day, and this is supposed to be like 6 or 7 years in the future, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I didn't know what was the year gap on that.
Well, they don't tell us directly, so
Yeah. You're kind of like wondering what's happening in this episode. You're kind of like trying to piece it together, and then Heimerdinger starts talking about the progress that Jace has made with all his innovations and with the what is it, hex tech, and how it's like advanced very quickly, and he's like asking him to do the speech for this year's convention, and so, or for Happy Progress Day, which Heimerdinger's done for I don't know how many years. Like he's always done it apparently.
200. I would assume 200.
Yeah, because the city is like 200 years old. Like he's talking about the
it's
statue.
turning 200 years old. Yes.
The bicentennial.
And it's crazy to think, like, because Heimerdinger kind of says it casually. Oh, it's turning 200 years. And it's like, this man is 900 years old. So this is like nothing to him. So
I do like how they play that off with Heimerdinger here and there. Like, you really get the sense that he's super old and the kind of quirks that you would have when you are super old. Like, even like, it's just a decade. Later. It'll be gone in a blink of an eye. You know? It's like, well, hold on.
You know, I heard you guys earlier saying, oh, this episode is kind of like a whatever kind of. I honestly, you know, just taking it all in, you know, I didn't mind it. You know, I was really just, you know, laid back and be like, damn, you know, this is a really good episode to kind of set the foundation for the next line through the run. So I didn't mind it as much.
Oh, I agree with that. I think to qualify, I'm saying by comparison to the standards set by Arcane itself, it's not the best episode. By comparison to almost any other show, you're right. It's still just brilliant setup work, including the little things we're talking about. You know, Heimerdinger in this scene. Even this is quite subtly well done. The point of this episode, the theme of this episode, is really frustration, and the whole idea is that, you know, you've just gone from this massive release of stress in episode 3, but to show that actually society is still this massive pressure cooker, everything has to build up again. But to stop Heimerdinger himself becoming just this generic blocking tool, someone that everyone finds incredibly annoying, they first of all try and humanize him and make him seem reasonable. In this particular instance, you know, he is inviting Jace to do the speech. He's trying to keep him on side. He's giving him things. So it's not just that he's going to stand there and say no. He's also, you know, he's trying to be accommodating. And that's really good setup. I like what they do there. The problems principally come toward the end of the episode, I think.
Yep.
I also like the conversation about Stanwyck Pedidley. This guy, this fissure here. It's a good idea and like foundation of what Piltover stands for. Yeah. Because like everything's Pedidley made either toppled over, exploded, didn't work, and in that, at the end of the day, that didn't matter because Pedidley realized that the most important thing was to train and tutor his students, and what the things that his students would create would be far more important than anything he could come up with in his lifetime. And a neat part of that is once Heimerdinger gives that, you know, spiel about Pedidley, Jace says, "Oh, I had no idea," and then not Pedidley, Heimerdinger says that was his sacrifice.
Am I that easy to forget? I'm on the panel with you, young man.
Before we continue, I just do want to shout out to everyone in the chat quickly. There's Jama Lama. Thanks for joining us. Let's do this. Also, Watami, these guys have always been, you know, watching our shows, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, Watami, Copa's in the house. What's going on, Copa? Thanks for joining us. He's saying Edge Runners. Yeah, Edge Runners is better. And scroll down.
I've not seen Edge Runners yet. I have heard good things, but I'm fairly confident that you're wrong.
I actually don't like Edge
Runners. That was the best way to put that.
I don't like Edge Runners. That's a conversation for another day.
Yeah. I haven't seen it since it came out. I'll have to watch it again.
If you like anime, you have to watch it. I think it's really good. And I don't even like anime in general, so
I don't mind it. I like it, but it doesn't even compete with Arcane or Blue Eye Samurai.
All I know is that it has a time skip in it, and I really hate it, and it takes me completely out of the show. Like after the time skip, I'm like, I don't care.
We're talking about an episode with a time skip now. So like, how does it handle it differently than Arcane does, for example?
Well, Arcane, like at the end of episode 3, like Vi's in prison, all the kids are dead. Powder's kind of just chilling with Silco. There's not really much you can do. Like going forward from that point, so that it feels like a good place to stop and then take, a 7-year breather and then set it up, start set up again.
Is it though?
Another thing that the show
so.
does. Another thing that this episode does is like it comes back and immediately starts doing world building. It introduces Progress Day as an event. It's like a local circus fair, but times 100 because the entire city is involved in it.
It's more like an expo, I would say.
Yeah.
Like the French World Fair, World Exposition, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you have, and then of course when Heimerdinger opens the door, the city looks different from back when we saw it in episode 1. There's bigger buildings. There's of course the hex gates, and we see those and how those are working and how those have been integrated into society, and trade routes have opened between places that were too far originally. And also Heimerdinger says that how the hex gates have brought scholars from distant lands and has reignited passions in arts and science just by opening trade routes and people coming in, just a bunch of people from around the world coming in. So it does a lot of world building there. Another thing that it does well is it does reintroduce us to the characters that we saw beforehand, but they've dramatically changed. So like when we see Jinx, it's like, oh God, what has she turned into? She's kind of become the worst version of herself, pretty much, which is what Silco wants. And then we see Vi in prison at the end of the episode, and she's kind of also become the worst version of herself, because from the constant abuse and just the nature of being in Stillwater prison. And specifically something that I don't like that Edge Runners does is it just kind of cuts and then skips. And then you're like, okay, there's been background character development that I feel like I desperately need to see. And it doesn't really try to explain it at all in the episode's post time skip. And here we get hints of like what's happened to what's happened to Vi. I think she says in episode 5, she talks about how, oh, you're just going to send someone down here again to beat me up or something. And they have back and forth with that with Caitlyn. And then Jinx and Silco, they have interactions that kind of build what they've been doing in the background. There's like casual lines that Silco says, I believe in this episode, where he just kind of says nonchalant things that kind of, it's like, oh, you've been telling her, you've been manipulating her greatly to the point where you don't even have to do it anymore. You just gotta say a couple words and then she's like, okay. And it also, with Silco, there's a lot of world building with the relationship between Piltover and the Undercity. So yeah, I think it does a time skip well.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I usually don't like time skips. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate this episode specifically, is because it does a thing I hate, but pretty well. So
I do like the fact, it's a good argument for like free market economics. Is that we've opened the world up to trade and there's no borders and we're now incredibly rich and we build things quickly. Whereas in this country, the one thing that was slightly unbelievable is, we built all of this in the space of about 6 years. In this country, we've been trying to put a staircase in a tube station for 6 years, and it still hasn't happened.
You guys are pretty good at putting spikes on park benches, though.
This is good, but the homeless are a real problem and they have to be wiped out. So
we're going to kill all of them. This is our solution.
Genocide the homeless in Minecraft.
Speaking of which, there's a lot of parallels with like this part of Piltover and like the whole Victorian Industrial Revolution and stuff, like the introduction of the hex tech and sort of the trade routes that were opened up at that point. Like world trade was basically established by Victorian England, and this basically, like, aesthetically as well as literally doing that here, which I always found pretty interesting, and it ties with the whole steampunk thing very well.
Yeah, and to bring it something Platoon was talking about last episode, how you get the two parallel revolutions going on in Zon and Piltover. In this episode, we kind of get to see the ramifications of those. Piltover is going through a technological and artistic renaissance where Zahn is going through a massive underworld shakeup with the shimmer and everything.
Yeah, they're regressing.
Does that pretty well.
And you can see that the most evident, like the last drop goes from like a nice homey kind of bar, nice quiet, sort of semi-welcoming, to like basically a really rundown nightclub in like Brazil.
Yeah,
it's just
it becomes very like dehumanized. It doesn't feel as personal.
Yeah,
you kind of get this sort of another corrupted parallel, because at the same time as you've got the hex tech, which is making Upside incredibly rich and successful, the shimmer, which until this point has been kind of the hex tech of the underground, is not really. This is kind of the shift into the background, I think, for that in terms of like economically. This is when they're trying to expand, they're trying to ship it out to more and more people to make more money. They're finding it more and more difficult to do that. It's like the Betamax to the VHS of hex tech. And they need to upgrade. And so, of course, the episode ends with them upgrading. They actually do get the hex tech, and this is going to be their key to actually taking the fight to the Upside, is to try and beat them at their own game.
Yeah, I think this episode kind of like when you realize the time jump happens. I think for me, it was like, you're going to be the host this year. I didn't really notice Homeboy looked a little different until like a couple scenes later, that his like jaw's a little wider, his hair's a little grayer.
Jace?
And, yeah, he's got more shave. Yeah, he got more 5 o'clock shadow. Yeah, but that could be like a days type thing, and I didn't really notice it at first. But then he says, you're going to be the host this year. And he's like, you're the host every year. Again, it's like, is he talking about like from experience because he's involved? But then when you start seeing the big montage about all the flying blimps and stuff, that's when you're like, oh, okay, this is another time jump. And then the problem with it, though, is like the rest of the episode, I don't know. I'm kind of wondering, is it 10, 20 years? And then we see Jinx later, and you're kind of like, okay, maybe it's like 10 years. You find out I find out later on this show that it was like less than 10 years. But like the big problem with it was I was wondering if there was going to be another time jump later. I had no idea. But I mean, it wasn't too bad of a problem, I'm saying, but it is done well the way it kind of gradually brings you into that, you're basically like world building again. Yeah.
I like that they don't tell you. They don't tell you a lot. Like I always appreciate when they leave it to your interpretation or imagination, because for you it could be 10 years, for someone else it could be 4.
Well, I always bring back Final Fantasy VII, Advent Children. Don't know what the hell's going on with that movie. It's fine. It's good. I just assume it's in the game. I assume it's all explained in the game somewhere.
There's
the game.
There's over 40 people in the chat watching. I appreciate you all for coming and watching this. If you could hit that like button and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Be a friend, tell a friend about Diabolical Souls Presents. Also, I would quickly want to just share this. Caleb Reynolds, he's become a new member to the channel. Thank you so much, Caleb. I appreciate that, man. Also, Cannoli, you're the best, Cannoli. Thank you so much, man, for joining, becoming a member. And Zax, thanks, brother. I appreciate that. They're all buying memberships to the channel. They're available. Check it out. Become a member of the Gooch Army. So getting back to this,
the Gooch is growing.
The Gooch is growing.
I'm actually
more like the bush is growing on the Gooch
right now.
Yeah, well, the Gooch isn't actually growing, but I mean the army's growing.
The bush is growing on the Gooch.
So let's get back to this. We're at the part where Jace is, honored by the fact that Heimerdinger is, relinquishing his speech to Jace, and Jace is like honored, and then the next step, you see the technology of everything that's happened, like everything's advanced dramatically in the short 6-7 years that it's supposedly the time skip has happened, and you're seeing everything booming. You're seeing ships. What are these? They're wind sails or wind
airships.
Airships.
Yeah, they are airships. They aren't blimps.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Caitlin explains this to us later.
Yeah. Incredible animation here. Very well done. I love the rendering. I love the light references here.
I know I've built this before, but the sound design for this part is so bloody good. Like the way it doesn't step on top of the soundtrack's toes.
Yeah. And then we get to this part here. We get to see it in action. The hex tech, the travel sequence, which is pretty cool. Or Hexgate, thank you.
It is. It's I remember when I first watched it, and I think as well because I watched it again earlier today, thinking I don't think it is an example of a flaw in the show, but it's you've got this massive opening up of society that Hextech has brought, and we have to be told that, I think, because though we see these airships being effectively teleported to God knows where, the world size itself doesn't actually expand in terms of, well, not very much in terms of what we actually get to see. So we have to be told it. I think that's necessary because ultimately, this is a very human, very local story. And I think in the end that what it's really doing is just inviting you to ponder the possibilities and ask the questions like, well, where the hell is it going? How big is this world? How many other places exist here? Like just exactly what does this massive expansion via Hextech really mean? Obviously, we see the local effects of that. We don't necessarily see the worldly effects of it. But that's probably a good problem to have if you leave your audience saying, God, I really wish I'd seen more of it.
I was about to say, what a damning flaw. I want more.
I had my girlfriend watch this whole show with me from beginning and to end, and she got hooked instantly onto this because she just loved every aspect of how it was building up in its pacing. And every episode at the end, she was just like, "We need to like keep going."
Yeah, that was pretty much me too.
Yeah.
Oh, I was hooked. So. I watched it twice in a row. I was just like, "Wait, it's over?" I need
Jamalama. Shout out to Jamalama. Thanks for becoming a member, brother. I appreciate that big time. I got some really cool stuff happening in the future here. I can't really say right now, but it's going to be some cool stuff happening. So really excited to get working on it. So thank you so much. It means a lot to me. So as we're seeing this kind of expo going on, you're starting to see more robots. That's the thing I noticed too. Like we only saw one robot before, unless you count that black woman with the neck grinder going around her neck.
I don't know. Like a fancy clockwork drip.
Yeah, her sexual torture device.
But the show does get more diverse, I guess is the word, because we see like more alien races and like there's a Wookiee race that's just in the background during the ceremony.
The bat people.
The bat
One thing
people,
I like in this,
there's Wookiees, and it's just subtle hints. It's like, hey, since we've opened up trade and it's like everywhere can just come here now, people are coming here now, like from all walks of life. I like that. I think it's cool.
Yeah, even in the background of this scene when we see Kate's mom kind of hobnobbing with those people and like showing them to Jace, there's these satyr looking people in the background, and you're like, oh, they weren't there before. They must have come from the Hex Gate.
Yeah, it's cool.
I think that's what they're really trying to bring across. That Piltover is different now. That like the wider world is sort of like here now, but they don't. They don't just say it in an exposition dump. They try to just show you. So if you pay really close attention, you'll see it. But which I really appreciate.
I also like how the Kiermans are like, oh look, our greatest patron or whatever.
Yeah, we were his supporters. We were always his supporters right from the beginning.
It's like episode 2. Hello. It's like you guys completely abandoned him.
Dude, that shit pissed me off. I hate the council. I hate the council, man. I can't stand them. Every single one of them.
I liked how later they show this bat guy right after this, and it's not just they show a crazy, alien guy, but he's like looking at the hex gate, and he's just like marveling at it. It's just like little subtle stuff. He's not saying anything. He's not like gasping, but you can tell he's like looking at it like, wow, this is impressive. It's cool that it's like he's an alien, or whatever, and he, they come to Earth and marvel at our stuff, or whatever planet this is.
Rune Terra.
This little Easter egg here reminds me of Lenin. That poster.
Yeah,
of Lenin.
It really does.
Yeah. Platoon. You're the
man of progress.
Well, Lenin did find television to be the most important aspect of culture for Marxists to take over. So.
It is a good propaganda device.
So yeah, we're seeing little kind of historical Easter eggs throughout this, and as we keep going, we see the mother talking, and she's bragging about Jace and the technology.
Yeah, see the lion people. He looks like a goat. There's like 2 goat people here.
Yeah,
there's a goat guy here, and
they're
there's
just there.
Subliminal Satanism.
That guy's right in the front, in the foreground.
Yeah,
right here. These 2.
Oh, look at them. Goat
Yeah, they're
people.
cool.
How did I not even notice this?
I noticed it
Bluebeard.
right away.
Dude, Bluebeard's like one of my favorite Cockatoo Twins songs. Hell yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, she's bragging about everything. Now she's scowling at Jace as he's talking with Caitlin, and she's obviously developed more. Pardon me?
She's an enforcer now.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is she though? Because it's still like it's either she is an enforcer, but like she's at the bottom of the barrel, or she's trying.
She
to
wants
one.
to,
yeah.
but her parents won't let her.
Yeah.
It's like her parents are up on Marcus's ass. Don't you put our daughter in any sort of dangerous situation. You hear us, or we're gonna see
you almost killed her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and honestly, like the one thing I hate everything about the city. It has nothing to do with like the talent that goes in. Just the story wise, I hate the city as a whole. I'm more of a fan of the Undercity than I am of this because they're all assholes. They're all just rich class people that just have their noses stuck in the air, acting like their shit don't sting. Yeah. And it just irritates me to see that not a single one of them empathizes with anybody below them. And you can just see a huge difference. There's not even a middle class in that. It's just rich and extremely poor.
Yeah.
And they don't help each other.
I think Jace and Victor are the bridge for that, just because Victor is at the bridge and he's like, why is the bridge blocked off? And Jace is like, oh, well, the Undercity's the people from the Undercity are dangerous. And then Victor's like, I'm from the Undercity.
Yeah.
So that's where Jace is like, oh.
Yeah.
I think there's one line in this episode with the council scene where one of the councillors says something to the effect of they might not be your preferred constituents, but they are still part of the city. But that's the extent of the affordance they're really given. And the immediate recourse of the council is, well, can you build a weapon and kill the poor people? And they don't do that, which is a shame. But you're right. But
in fact, it's the opposite.
No genocide, darn.
Yeah.
That's why I like Zach. Me and him are both Zon people. We'd be living in the ghetto.
Oh, dude, I'd rather live in the fucking ghetto knowing that I still have my humanity than being one of those snuck up bitches.
There's those airships look pretty cool.
I'd rather live in the ghetto than be a gearhead.
The only person on the council I respect is the black chick. Because she actually understood. She understood. She wanted to give him a shot where all the other council members were like, nah, like whatever. Like
she also seems to be the only one that sees the council for what it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, knowing that she can maneuver around them.
Even Heimerdinger is pretty oblivious to anything in terms of politics. He's just
and now what do you mean by that?
It's so funny because he's the oldest one. You'd think that he'd be the one to side with them, but nah. I was so irritated.
Well, considering his I think his race was wiped out, and same with the robot. They talk about their race being wiped out, and I think the first episode, do they not?
The Yordles are definitely not wiped out.
I was gonna say Yordles are big.
The robot people, everywhere, man. Well, but the robot people, the guy from the Techno Union Army in Attack of the Clones, his people almost wiped out.
I thought of those guys. This scene, there's a fun little visual gag that I like where Jace is giving Kate grief about go take after the drunkards, and then it immediately cuts to like 3 drunk guys in an air ship saying "Happy Progress Day." I thought that was kind of amusing.
I feel like that's a cameo, but I can't figure out who it is because I know
it's the head artist at Fortiche, the ginger guy.
Okay. Yeah, the ginger guy. Yeah. I couldn't figure out who it was because it looks like the animator. That makes sense. He pops up again.
I think both of the guys in that airship are.
Yeah. Well, we saw him before in episode 1 when we're first getting introduced to Zon, and they're walking through the lanes like outside of the brothel. There's that kind of awkward scene. I'm pretty sure it's the same characters having a cameo or people having a cameo. I don't know.
Just on the rich people having no humanity thing, because that's interesting. It's almost right. I mean, I say the problem, and it goes back to the point we're talking about how everyone in the upside is evil and they don't empathize. Their problem is not a lack
Now
of
listen
humanity, it's a
here,
lack
Zax,
of
I will let you know I have never had anal sex in my life.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
I am a straight yordle
Alright,
through
alright,
and
alright.
through.
Okay.
If you say so, if you say so. But their problem is their problem is a lack of perspective. So like when the Hextech crystal is stolen and you go to the council and Jay suggests shutting everything down, like all of the people there, they're not like this monolithic upper class in the sense that they all think and feel the same thing, and that's just carefree and careless about people underneath them. They're all very individualistic. You get the guy who says, well, my business relies on export, so you can't shut it down. And somebody else says, well, loads of people will lose their jobs and they're my constituents, so you can't shut it down. Like each of them has a very, very narrow frame of reference. And, as somebody mentioned Lenin earlier, and that is sort of the conditions that lead to the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, is this idea that your upper class becomes effectively balkanized among itself. There isn't really an upper class. There are just lots of very rich people with very individual interests, and they don't know how to work together, and they don't know how to work with anybody else. And it's the closest thing to a middle class in this show you get is the people underneath them. So it's Caitlin, who is frustrated by her parents who are not letting her be the enforcer she thinks she really can be. You get Jace later on when he realizes that he's not going to be able to fulfill his experiments, and Victor in the same way is not going to be allowed to do what he thinks is right for society. And all of these people are hard done by the people they're living next to, this rich, like isolated upper class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And to bring it back to the French Revolution, there's even a bit of a parallel between people like Jason, Caitlin, and King Louis. They tried to help the people, like mediate between both parties, but they're just too weak to, and they wind up failing miserably, which ultimately does lead to the revolution. Like a lot of what happened in the French Revolution probably would have been at least mitigated if there had been a stronger head of state in France, or a stronger heads at the forefront of either party. So there's some
or any type of
parallels.
plan whatsoever.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll kill the king. Then what? I don't know.
This part right here is one of the
infamy.
cool
entrance.
Yeah, cool entrance for Echo.
The firelights are so cool. All of them are so cool.
I like that stamp. They just friggin' went hard designing that stamp.
Another thing that I like
is the most steampunk stamp ever.
They used the camera. They used the camera and the camera shake to emphasize like the power at play and who's like in charge of the scene. So when you get into the POV of the manifest guy, he's looking in his camera, his POV gets very shaky when it starts looking down at the shimmer containers, and then back up to the thug, and then when it switches back to the thug's perspective, the camera becomes very still. And then the moment that changes is when the firelights show up, and then like as soon as they zoom past the camera shakes again because the thugs are no longer in power. Because the
I love how fluid they move. Just
dude,
the way
they have
move
so
on those
much
hoverboards.
swag. Yeah.
Imagine if
he does a gnarly kickflip on the way in too.
Yeah.
Imagine if Steven Spielberg had this kind of.
Great.
This is probably reaching, and it's probably not a legitimate fear, but it's the closest thing I have to a fear with the Fireflies is that it's actually brought on by this scene. Their weapons that they use, they're non-lethal, right? So they throw these sort of crystally mud bomb things at people that stick them to walls. They don't kill people, which is a very shorthand way of telling the audience that these are probably going to be good guys in the end. So like my concern, I think, would be going forward into season 2, and certainly from what we see of the Firelights Society at the end of this season, is are you going to end up with a show in which they are portrayed uncomplicatedly as the good counter middle ground force between the two revolutionary poles? Like, are these people going to be a little bit too shallow and nice in the end because they don't kill people and they're obviously heroes, and Arcane is really good for avoiding all of that shit for the most part? So like I don't know what that will pan out as.
Yeah, it's Robin Hood.
They could
Merry Men.
take
They don't do anything wrong.
They could take a tragic. They could take a tragic angle with them where they're just like independent party who wants freedom from both, because another aspect of French Revolution that I don't think most people know about is the rising in the Vendée, where it was a bunch of French peasants who lived in the kind of countryside area. They weren't really well armed or military trained or anything, and they sort of rose up against the new revolutionary government after the French Revolution and tried to gain their independence from them because they hated the way they were ruling them, but they were just kind of crushed after a while. They're all of their leaders, including one man named Jacques Cathinlu, who was a nobleman who was well loved by the people, they were all executed. Which, if they do that right, that could be an interesting angle with the Fireflies, where they're trying to stand up to these violent revolutionary forces, but they're just not able to with their numbers, and as a result are stomped for it. But it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting at least.
This little snippet here is like, I want to talk about the animation. It's like they used like some kind of surfing reference, I'm assuming, when they did this animation. I haven't watched any of the actually technical stuff when it comes to the animation part. I'm sure there's videos out there. I haven't looked it up, but
surprisingly not a heck of a lot, but there's a lot of people trying to break it down. But
watch Beyond the Rift or Bridging the Rift. That's the documentary series. That's a really good documentary series.
Okay.
One of the quotes from it, it's like, how do you get I don't know who was interviewing them, but it was kind of a stupid question. They were like, how do you get the aesthetic of the show to look like a piece of painted artwork? And then the artist was just like, we paint. Yeah, that was it. That's like, thank you.
Wow.
Just how do you draw?
Yeah. Also, how you big point about how you know that they're good guys. Not only do they use non-lethals, but also when they find the shimmer, you're like, they're not going to steal it or anything. They're going to destroy it, and you're like, oh, okay. Oh yeah. So I think
look at them. They're so cool.
Yeah,
they
look like bad guys for sure.
I do love them. They're actually they're my favorite part of the show.
It's so much swag, dude. This show deserves the win for best character design. Because, like,
I mean, the freaky rat face guy with the spear, he doesn't look evil.
That's not a rat. That's a bat.
Yeah, whatever.
Rat man.
Scary looking good guy.
As an artist, like Enzo and Zach and forgive me, I don't think anyone else is really an artist on this panel, but
casual.
Casual.
I'm an amateur.
I'm talking like drawing. The coloring and the rendering in these shots
it's fucking gorgeous.
are blowing me away. Like
all the black light stuff blows me away.
Yes, the shading, the light references. Like
I like how the daylight's blowing out the camera too. The camera,
absolutely.
Like, if they didn't do that, it would look so much flatter. But like it's an animation, someone had to go in and make that decision.
You just take the whites and you put on a blur, blur it, gives it that glow. It looks good.
I'm just gonna add this right in. This animation type of style is like the same style for Apex Legends, and I love that game, right? And I've been dying for years for an Apex Legends TV show, and when I saw this show, when Jay recommended it to me, all I could think about was like, man, Apex Legends is missing out on a massive fucking opportunity right now because Arcane is Arcane's from League of Legends. So like, what the hell, man? It's like, man, I want to go ahead and be another customer for it, but you're not making it into a show.
Yeah. Have you seen Puss in Boots: The Last Wish?
Yeah.
Yes. I have not seen that yet, but I heard it's very good.
It's
very good aesthetic.
It's
great animation too.
Kids movie, and it uses I really like that Arcane kind of kicked off a lot of movies using a similar style to great effect.
Well, also what Puss in Boots does is, like, for instance, when the giant monster shows up, it's animated kind of like Spider-Verse, where it's got that kind of jittery kind of look,
like
to it.
Doubling.
But then everything else around it is smooth, so it's really wild looking,
Mm-hmm. So this scene here is the airship, and they're raiding the ship.
That mask.
Trying to take out the shimmer. What do you call it? The shimmer shipments. Thank you. Holy shit.
And they've gone down under the deck.
Learn to speak, Jay, for fuck's sake.
Shipments and shimmer under the deck. Wow, try saying that 5 times.
Yeah. And so you start to get the vibe of, because we haven't been introduced to Jinx yet, and so we last knew her as Powder. Really, we don't even know her name's Jinx technically yet. So then we get this introduction here, and like there's something like scurrying behind the barrels here, and you're like, is this a creature? Like you have no idea. Like it's actually Jinx. You're thinking it's one of the shimmer mutants that are stowed away underneath.
Yeah,
and then you should know the moment that hatch closes and there's the
trap,
the monkey.
Yeah. Well, there's a moment here with the swing that I'm going to try to get that. Like I love that.
The flare is animated like a cartoon, 2D animation.
This part right here.
Then, pause it. Bam. That's just great lighting, great coloring.
Oh,
that's just coloring. Because you think about like, okay, well, you have like a black light, you set it up, some radioactive, UV activated ink, but this is not, practical. This is animated. You draw it like this. So like, I'm just looking at these colors. You just have this like real hot purple with little blues and little hot pinks inside the purple, and then like I said, you just do a blur on it, so it's got that purple glow. But like with all the reds and stuff and the blacks, it just pops really good.
I think it's funny that Jinx had to install the swing. She's like, I'm gonna do a really sick trick here, guys.
Yeah, why is there a swing down there?
She put it in. She's like, guys, I need a swing. And
She's
then
like,
Silco was like, all right, fine, guys.
She's still kind of stunted
She was
emotionally.
probably like, hey, Silco, sick tricks.
Yeah, something about the basements and the stuff that happened in the basements. I don't know. It's weird that she is swinging in the dark.
I guess it's for moving around the barrels because it is kind of on like a, what do you call it? Not a gantry,
track.
A track, sure.
That
must be what it's for.
She sets off a couple of bombs down in the basement. She plants them on the guys, and then it goes off, and then we get introduced to this character here, which is one of my again.
No.
Abduction alert.
This is a bigger reveal than Pickle Rick, man.
Yeah.
I love this reveal, actually. I was shocked. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's like, oh man.
Wait, because the last time you see her, she is this tiny, terrified child. And here you get maybe a few seconds of her, and you think, oh, is that her? But then she's not obviously psychopathically evil and highly talented as a killer. For about 5 seconds, she's not, and then all of a sudden, she's mental, but she's also very good.
Literally,
I got a huge soft spot for her, dude. I fucking love her.
I thought you were about to say something else.
I was like,
I was trying to remember where adult Jinx's voice comes from, or what it reminds me of, and I was trying to think of actors, and then I realized no, it's my friend Ariel who does karaoke. She's like 20. She's like one of these 21-year-old girls that does karaoke, and it's like I need to ask her if she's actually seen the show because she's hip with what the TikTok kids like.
You have to be careful how you ask that question. It's like you sound like an absolute psychopath.
No, yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, I know.
You sound like a psychopath. Have you seen the show?
She knows me. She knows I'm a silly asshole. But yeah, she's got that kind of raspiness to her voice, and the way she talks too. It's very energetic. It's like, oh man, it's like spot on. I need to bring her on or get a recording of her for y'all.
This is a really cool introduction. I put it up there with the introduction of Anton Chigurh as one of the best introductions of a villain in in modern media. I was going to say in film, but yeah, in modern media, this is a TV show. It is really good. It's really effective at establishing her as a fighter and as a threat. She just look at this. She just blows through these guys like they're nothing.
Yeah.
And I like how they don't have to make her super strong. It's just
this part
tactics.
Right here. This is the part I want to get to. Where she grabs the one character here and she snaps, like the fractured mind just
even us as the audience were like,
oh, I had a little bit of a snap too. I was like, wait, is that Vi? What the fuck is happening?
And then we see her
the
actual face and it's like, who are you?
Yeah,
because it's kind of like we're expecting the Vi reveal now.
Yes,
I talk to her every other Friday at karaoke. She's been on my show once. She's also married, guys. All right, get your heads out of the gutter.
Well, getting back into the gutter, literally, we're here in the ship. And yeah, go ahead, Andrew. I think you were talking, or who was talking?
Oh yeah, no, like we're expecting a Vi reveal just because, like, okay, this is obviously Powder. Where is Vi? Is she safe? Is she all right? And we get this reveal, and then when Jinx shoots her, and we see Echo's response, we're just like, oh god, what happened? Did she actually kill her? It's like really good with playing with the expectations of the audience here.
It's making us feel like Jinx.
Yeah.
And even then, there's another payoff here as well, because in the soundtrack, the sort of the psycho violins, which are pretty much the same as that scene when she breaks down when she's a kid before the time skip. She starts throwing shit around the room. It's pretty much the same score, in fact.
Yeah.
But so you know from seeing this and hearing it in this scene when she's obviously mad that she was obviously a little bit mad in the previous scene before she was officially a psychopath.
And we are getting all the flashbacks to all the major moments where her psyche was sort of compromised.
And then she just full on snaps and just starts laying lead all over the place. Like, and she shoots her own crew, which is like a sign of like just insanity.
Short, controlled bursts.
See, this is a prime example of how Harley Quinn was before, they totally butchered the character. But she's
Joker
a
Filet
female...
is coming out, so let's hold judgment off on that.
Well, I'm not holding my breath on that. But this is an incredible female version of the Joker. Like she crazy eyes, unpredictable, does whatever she pleases. Will play along with certain individuals and use them.
I would even say, instead of being unpredictable, she is at least predictable in the sense that everything she does makes sense within the character. Like we see her bat cave, if we want to go with this comparison. She has this her hidey hole where she has puppets of her friends, and Ilo's puppet is very big. Why? Because he was a very real antagonistic entity in her childhood, like always putting her down. Whereas Clagger was this small little Funko Pop guy because he was just kind of chilling. And then other things with her, like Silco and how Silco treats her, and that her responses to that are very much in the character. Whereas like a Harley Quinn will have like a penguin in her room and call it quirky or something. And like there's very much technique and method to Jinx's madness that makes it like doubly times tragic because we know why she's doing everything. There's a couple lines later when she's talking to Silco, where it's just like, man, you've been through a lot. Whereas Harley Quinn, it's mostly like, you got the funny juice, So yeah, there's a lot of there's a way more tragic version of that, like that nightmare jester style character, and it's very much it plays into that stereotype sometimes, but it does it at the strength of the stereotype. This is where the show uses stereotypes almost to its advantage. Like Silco's pretty cartoonish in the beginning, but as we get into more depth with him, we understand why he has that cartoonish feeling to him, which makes him an even more like an even better character. And I think that goes through almost all of their characters as we're introduced to them. On like surface level, they seem very, very cartoonish and stereotypical. But like as you dig into characters, like you just find a lot of depth and just stuff that makes sense with the character and how they're acting.
Well, the problem with Harley Quinn is the writers or DC gets to portray her. They don't know how to write mental illness. They don't see Harley as a tragic or broken character. They see her as a female power fantasy. They want her to be like their own wish fulfillment. So she's crazy and quirky and oh my gosh, so totes adorbs, whatever, without actually having any of the work to show that she's amusing and unpredictable at times, but there's also a very broken individual under that.
Jesus Christ,
Well,
you guys could, like, if there was anybody I wanted to review my comic book, I would totally pick you guys. You guys are so fucking in depth and detailed at every single.
I warned you.
You guys evaluate everything. I'm like super impressed. I want to add.
To be fair though, it's
because
it's
I just
there.
want to listen. Like fucking.
Well, this is you're getting this because of the trauma. Again, I always refer to the trauma. Like she doesn't know how to deal with the trauma. She's gone through not only once, but she's going through it twice with significant deaths, and so like it comes out, like especially with young like adults, it comes out in violent ways, and she is coming out, and you're seeing her mind split into multiple characters. There's a lot of characteristics that happen with her. She's constantly either in fight or flight, or she's in like that parasympathetic mode where she's just like in a calm rest, and she's just like in a haze almost. Like she's just sitting there relaxed, and then she'll jump into her cerebral cortex, and she'll start fixing her gadgets and creating things, and it's quite the character development for Jinx. Like you're constantly seeing this traumatic character go through these emotions and these behaviors, and it's just like you're just kind of blown away that they're doing this for an animation. But I also want to say welcome, Zax. Thanks for joining us there, brother.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Yo,
how's the voice?
It's coming along. So happy to be here. I've been listening the entire time. Yeah, great show. And this is a good part for me to jump in because I love this character, Jinx.
Yeah.
And like you guys have been saying, it feels like real mental illness. I've worked with people with mental illness my entire life, and it feels like that. And I think like the best comparison I can make to her would be, obviously there's the Harley Quinn stuff, but she feels like old school sweaty TNT, where you're trying to get it into the mind to blow up the cave without killing yourself. And you need to get it there because it's vital for you to do your job. But, one wrong move and it blows up in your face.
Mm.
It also what I love about it too is that it could have been handled correctly. She could have gotten over that if she didn't have fucking Silco and his crew be the ones to raise her, basically.
Hence the song "What Could Have Been." It's like basically the theme of the like the latter half of the show, I guess.
I was so shocked when those fucking kids died. Like when that climax happened, I didn't think that they were like, the whole creative team was like, "Fuck it, kill him." Like, just leave it, just like leave them. Like, nope, it's gonna be just these two. Kill the rest. Like,
dude, an intern walked in the room and was like, "Guys, I know we have like this 5-season plan with these children, but what if we did something really, really funny right now?"
They probably did too, and they're probably chuckling. They're probably like chuckling on the drafting tables, like, "Hey, I'm drawing the pipe that's going through that kid's chest right now."
Oh God, can you imagine the conversation with the studio though? Because all these talk about studio interference in big budget productions, but if you were going to someone like Disney and you said, "Right, we're going to episode 3, and we've done all this shit, and now we're going to kill everyone," they would say, "No, you're not allowed to do that. You got to keep them."
Disney would think there's no studio.
Disney would be like, "But Dad, it's not marketable."
Have Baby Yoda with Netflix.
But Dad, Baby Yoda.
Oh, you know what? You know how they probably got that past the Netflix censors? Everybody they killed was white.
Yep, that too.
So we see this character Sevilla.
I think Milo
right?
was a little Latino.
Sevilla, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just to be fair,
Disney,
Disney kills off parents all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
usually do it really early.
Sevilla comes back, and you see her arm, and you see the
I don't think we actually see it, do we? We just kind of see the glow under, and we're kind of like,
hey.
You see that little shimmer crack on her face.
Well, you don't see it there. We see some kids alive that are running around.
Where's the bomb?
And so now now we're back to Victor and Jace as they're going over their new inventions here, waiting for Heimerdinger as he strolls in, and they start talking about the new what would you call the industrial
Hex gemstone?
Stabilized hex gem.
Yeah,
I mean,
and then
they're going for like a industrial revolution kind of like electricity thing, but it's pretty applicable. You could apply this to nuclear power as well. I mean,
there's a nice hint, like character, like little piece in here that I like, where as soon as that box opens, as soon as we see the reflection of the gemstone in Heimerdinger's eyes, you can kind of already tell he's gonna say no, because just how his face moves.
You can. They also give reasons for doing that. They're quite subtly done in this scene. But so obviously you have they demonstrate all this miraculous new technology, and it all works really, really well. And you think, right, there's no way you can possibly object to this unless you're a dick. But then right at the end, like just by dropping one of them, like the laser gun goes off and almost takes out his dog. And then that's a very small, subtle way of showing that actually Heimerdinger is kind of right. All it takes is some person to accidentally make a mistake or to use the thing incorrectly. Like any number of things could go wrong, and something almost did go incredibly wrong. So if you are more sympathetic to Heimerdinger, you can look at that and say, well, it's small evidence, but it's evidence, even big problems have small beginnings, and he sees that where they don't.
Yeah,
I need to get her hair groomed.
Yeah, like I don't even need to see the laser like almost kill the dog or whatever. Like just seeing them demonstrate the giant gauntlet and seeing him demonstrate the laser. I'm one of these guys where I'm not saying like, "Oh, that's awesome." I'm like, "Holy God, you guys built this!" Like, don't we need to lock this away? Like,
Heimerdinger. There's a couple moments in here where it looks like Heimerdinger's having PTSD. Like he's just like, "Oh God, oh God, oh God!"
It's happening all over again. Exactly. Oh no.
Oh no, not again! I can't stand.
Did your head tell you anything?
Didn't I teach you boys anything? Do humans have a hard time listening?
I love that he says like, just a couple 10 years and you'll be good. And
it'll go
of course,
like Flash.
Victor responds like the most. I guess he has the most exaggerated response to that, just because it's Victor. And later in the show, we're like, oh, Victor doesn't have long to live.
Yeah, he's dying, and he probably already knows it.
Yeah, there's a rush to get things done here, and then we go right back to the airship, and it's like completely blown apart. Caitlin, for some reason, gets. She was at the tent, and now she's over by the ship.
Yeah, for some reason, Caitlin annoys me as a character. Like she is probably the most annoying character because of how they handle her compared to everybody else. Because she doesn't have a big part to play in any of the leading up episodes, they have a huge amount of catching up to do. And this episode does try its best to do a lot of catching up. So the reason she's here is that she is frustrated because she wants to be a fully fledged enforcer, but her parents are restricting her to this ceremonial duty of guarding the tent. So we see from this that she is enterprising and she's intrepid and she's willing to break the rules and break the order in order to get ahead and actually be respected for who she is. That's all fairly good stuff. This scene, it's slightly contrived that she's made it all the way up here without anybody noticing or that nobody's told her off before now, but that's fine. The problem is, though, that issue with her character sort of goes throughout the episode to the point that there's probably the most clunky exposition in the entire show comes later when she's talking about her frustrations. And Jay says, oh, but your parents have put you in charge of the tent. And she says, well, I'm very annoyed that I've been put in charge of the tent because I want X, Y, and Z. And he responds, and that's the most didactic exposition in the show. Compared to most other shows, that's still really good. But on the high standards that Arcane sets for itself, the fact that they have to really fast forward her into this position shows, I think. There's one other example like that with a different person, but that's later.
I could give
counterpoint. She's hot.
I honestly, I really don't care for her as a character.
Did anybody else have a problem with her outfit? Like, she's not necessarily a policewoman. She's like a policewoman junior deputy or something, right?
She reminds me of.
It's a very pampered.
This is anime type outfit right here. Like, what this is very.
She's the kind of policewoman for the guys who like a woman in uniform. That's what she is. So
Amen, brother.
The barracks bunny.
But that's fine. I mean, like it's
and some long sleeves, and that'll be better.
Yeah,
Sure,
but I mean, it's stylized for that reason. You have to target your
audience
audience in that way, and they do it the same thing with Jinx as well. When Jinx first appears on the screen, teenage boys all over America sit up and think, "I can fix her." Like that's definitely what they've done.
Yes, if 13-year-old me watched that, I definitely would have been thinking I can fix her.
Well, I was just happy that they didn't I was getting like main character vibes all of a sudden right here. Like, oh no, is she gonna be like the main all of a sudden and take care of everything? And I'm glad
put a chick in it, make her lame and gay.
Well.
I mean, I found her a bit annoying at first, but she kind of grew on me because she's very honest and like what she wants. She's very interested in figuring out the truth.
She works great as
ulterior motives. Yeah, she's a fine supporting character. Like, is she the best character? No, but like,
it's like there's also
put her in any other show. It's fine.
That's true. There's also the scene later when she's explaining the connections that she's drawing and the hypothesis that there's one criminal mastermind behind everything, and she's drawn all of these dots. And I'm thinking, it does, but I'd also quite like to have seen her working that out. I think the problem probably is that the entire series is one episode too short. If you'd had one prior to this, maybe, which is basically just focused on her, then you probably could have smoothed out any of the slightly jarring qualities of introducing effectively what is a mid-stage plot with this character. Show her working this stuff out, show her encountering various of Silco's goons, or like making these connections that we then see in this episode. But because they either didn't have the time or the budget, they just have to say, no, she's explaining it all for us now. She's done all of the work before now. It's fine. It's just, it could have been better.
They would have had to animate it though, and that's a lot of work.
I know, but, so much effort.
She does get the weakest of the character introductions, I would say. Like her running and gunning with oh gosh, I forget her name again. Grayson. And like we don't really get that strong of an emotional connection or like a reason to like her, really. It's just sort of like,
I love that scene.
She's a try.
That's right.
I like it, but it's the weakest out of all the character introductions, I think, which doesn't do her any favors. But
again,
I would say Jace is true. She is hot, but I would say Jace's is just because somehow wizard. So
I like his better though. Like, yeah, the suddenly wizard, that doesn't bug me though. That sort of like fits because it's like, does there need to be a reason for a magical wizard to be there? Do we need a backstory and like, events leading up to this? Suddenly Wizard is the start of most good stories. Like, look at Lord of the Rings.
The wizard arrived precisely when he meant to. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And then there's another little bit of a contrivance here. Oh yeah, she just happens. The guy that she shot just happens to be the guy who beat the shit, or that Vi beat the shit out of like 6 years ago, and is partially responsible for her getting put in prison in this whole mess.
I think it's fine just because he's shown to be one of Silco's most effective goons. So
yeah,
he's going to put visually, the most.
He's had his ass kicked by a little girl twice now.
He's the most intimidating, probably.
Oh my gosh, they're gonna make him. They're gonna make him their bitch in prison, aren't they? You got beat up by a little girl twice, little man.
Vi basically kills him when he gets to prison. So
I think it makes sense for him to be here. And then it does make sense for Vi to beat him up when he shows up in prison.
Yeah. Well, if I was Vi and that guy showed up in the same prison that I was, I'd probably beat the shit out of him too.
Oh yeah.
I would at least try.
So she is trying to get information out of the goon, and she gets double duty. She has to work the night shift because she didn't follow orders. And now we're into this noir underground, neo-noir underground here, which
noir.
Is neon.
Yeah, don't say that.
It actually feels like cyberpunk Edge Runners.
Yeah, cyberpunk. Yeah, for sure.
Like, you're telling me that The Last Drop doesn't feel like the afterlife now? Because it definitely does.
I do like the scene because it's comparative to the introduction to the lanes in episode 1. Where episode 1, it was an undercity. Everything looked terrible and awful, and I don't want to live here. But it had this sense of community and compassion. Whereas here, it feels like this is Silco's version of the lanes. Very dehumanizing,
like almost
and
safe place,
and very indulgent, because we see a lot of people, doing shit.
It feels like
because
Shimmer's
now
or something.
Yeah.
Well, Blade
Shimmer's
Runner. It feels like
through.
Blade Runner.
Yeah,
Party City.
There's a Blade Runner element to it. This is the episode when Silco starts becoming more interesting, because I think up until this point he's been a bit of a cat scratching sort of generic villain, or at least a cliche villain. But in this one, because he's effectively now taken Vander's place, he's gone from being the pure agent of chaos. Any amount of violence is necessary for change, so I'll do any amount of violence, and change is itself the goal. Now he's effectively in charge of the entire Undercity. He's the one who's actually doing a perverse form of what Vander was doing. So later in the episode, when Jinx goes and takes it on her own back to try and blow up a load of policemen, he gets really angry because he thinks that's going to be destabilizing. Yet last episode, this was the guy who only wanted to destabilize everything, that's a good character development, because it shows that you don't end with change. Change is not actually a goal. Change is just this thing that you want vaguely. Then you have to live with the aftermath of that, which is what he's trying to do.
So I want to go ahead and just quickly add in that I 100% would agree with every method he was doing, despite how despicable it was, because he really did understand how everything worked, and he knew that he had to be the one to take care of all of that shit, to change it. And
I don't know if I agree with that at all, because if you take Silco out of the story, like, none of that bad shit happens. Like, if he didn't,
and therefore there would have been no change in terms of both worlds even working together, or they'll just be even further apart. Because after the war happened on the bridge, that they stayed, they both stayed to their collective, territories. As that cop that comes down in the first episode and talks to Vander, she's like, "We need somebody," and you can tell that they both have an agreement to stay out of each other. And Silco, he never wanted to, have the Undercity and the regular world be separated. He knew he wanted both of that to coincide, and he knew the only way to do that.
I don't think he wanted it to coincide at all. I think he wanted a slice for Zon. He wanted Zon to be its own established thing, and he wanted to take away from Piltover to make that happen. He's very clear about that.
Yeah, there's a story of sorry, after you.
Oh, is my internet?
This could take a minute, but not to go on a tangent, but I was playing Dragon Age Origins a while back. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played that.
Love it.
Have not.
Yeah, but anyway, when you go to the dwarf realm, the underground, the big choice you can make there is you can either choose this kind of agreeable dwarf lord to ascend to the throne. He's just kind of a nice guy, not really gonna rock the boat. The people like him and everything, but if you choose that, he also reinforces the kind of harsh and cruel, ignorant traditions of the he kind of reinforces the caste system of the dwarf society. And on the other hand, if you choose the previous dwarf king's brother or his son, who is the last one alive because he killed everybody else, he's kind of ruthless, but he brings about a really good change to the city. Like, he lessens the caste restrictions, he makes great headways into the underground where all the darkspawn are, and takes back large swaths of their kingdom, and they're able to have access to their old technologies again. So it's kind of the same parallel between Silco and Vander. Vander's a good and agreeable person who just wants peace, but he's not really going to affect change, whereas Silco's completely ruthless and he affects change. And another thing of that, where the game kind of makes you regret your decision for the guy if you choose him, because if you choose him, he immediately kills the agreeable dwarf lord right afterwards. But in the epilogue, you learn all the good he did as the dwarf king for his kingdom.
Yeah, that's an unusual example. I think I vaguely remember playing it, but what makes the example unusual is that in whichever choice you make, the outcome is actually realized. There is an outcome. There is a codified society which emerges once you've made that choice. Either you've gone for the conservative revolutionary, the phalangist, the Franco type, or the Chiang Kai-shek type figure, or you've gone for the egalitarian revolutionary type who overthrows the system and kills all the old aristocrats, but at least gets his workers' paradise afterwards. Whereas this show, certainly by the end of episode 1, end of season 1, doesn't go that far. This is very much, there's this thing, George Orwell having this conversation with a Stalinist, and the Stalinist says, well, sometimes to make an omelette, it's necessary to break a few eggs. And Orwell responds, well, where's the omelette? You don't actually necessarily get a proper outcome from your revolutionary fervor, even if you have a conception of it in your head. I think that's the thing that Silco grapples with here. He's effectively gained control of the Undercity from Vander, but he didn't really have any conception of what would happen after that, or if he did, it hasn't come to pass, and he's now stuck in this really awkward position. And it takes Jinx, funnily enough, to actually break him out of that by doing pretty much exactly what he did himself, which is, it doesn't matter, this is not tenable, you don't have to have a vision of the future, you just have to be chaotic and just change something, and whatever happens after that happens.
And I do like how different
it's not a perfect
Silco
example,
is.
but there are some interesting parallels.
And I do like how different Silco is, just his cadence, the way he carries himself, like the look on his face. You can tell he's tired, maybe a bit jaded. And
the death of Vander, I think it's the death of Vander that hits him the most.
Yeah, I think he now realizes the shit that Vander had on his shoulders and how complicated it was and how hard it actually is to run a society on any level. And the first line we get from him in this scene is him justifying something that Jinx did, you know.
I like the backpedaling a bit. I do like his conversation with Savika, because Savika's like very frustrated at Jinx,
and rightly so, because she's like compromising their entire system.
She calls Savika an ogre.
Yeah. Well, Silco says, I think Savika says, well, she's rooting the entire operation, and we all know it. And then Silco's who's we? And it's like, oh,
right there.
So yeah,
but Silco in this situation, Silco is effectively the council in the upper city. They've plenty of competing interests and factions underneath him, and he is frustrating all of them. He's not letting Jinx do what she thinks needs to be done. He's not letting I will never remember this guy. It was Savika. Not letting her do what she thinks needs to be done. He's the one who's his job is just to say no. And that parallels almost exactly what's happening in the upper city at pretty much the same time. And it's not just in terms of the council. I was actually trying to jot down the number of these, because I mentioned at the beginning frustration being the theme of this episode, the number of relationships in this episode which are just about frustrations, which will pay off something later. There's loads. It's like you've got Jason Heimerdinger, you've got Caitlin and her parents, you've got Savika and Silco versus the top side, which is restricting his trade, Silco and Jinx because she's too chaotic, Jason the council, and the council with Heimerdinger, and then Victor. It goes on and on and on, and every single one of these has a payoff later on, which is just lovely writing. I very much enjoy that.
And then another thing that I do like is we're seeing Hextech's Silco explains Hextech's effects on the Undercity, because I think he just says like something along the lines of every passing day, the Piltover leaves the Undercity further and further behind thanks to Hextech. And with the introduction of the Hex Gates, it's created difficulty shipping Shimmer from the restrictions on that.
Yeah, he says the mothers and daughters of or the mothers and fathers of Zon deserve more than just the city's runoffs, you know.
I question for Platoon there, because he mentioned how there's like many kind of mini arcs happening throughout, especially this episode, with all like the characters. Game of Thrones does that a lot, and you kind of get lost in a lot of the storylines that are happening. I feel like Arcane does it better, and it gels better. I don't know.
I think I'd agree with that. And also worth remembering, Game of Thrones has 8 seasons, each of which is basically as long as a single season of Arcane in which to balance all of this out. But the difference is that there's a clear vision in mind and a clear authorial intent with Arcane. They know what they have to do within the bounds of one season, and they know they have to complete a story within the bounds of that season. With Game of Thrones, the show's problems mimic the problems with the books. George R.R. Martin's approach is to be as complicated as possible. He does laudably, I think, try to follow his character decisions through to some sort of conclusion. He lets his characters lead his scripts in many important ways. But then when he kills some of them off for dramatic effect, or he does this, that, or the other, he finds himself in a bind. I think he said this publicly. He's been struggling with this most recent book because he found he needed a character he had killed off gratuitously about 2 books ago. But that's because I don't think he's actually got the end state in mind, and I don't think he'll ever get that now because he's made it too large, too complicated, too unwieldy, and he's lost track of the story side of what he's creating. He's very interested in the history and the lore and the world building, but the story has just departed him completely. But you're right. Arcane, by comparison, is so tightly done.
Yeah, there's a lot fewer characters too.
He calls his style gardening. George R. Martin, he's a gardening as a writer. He lets it grow and he tries to guide it a bit, but he kind of lets the story grow itself. And I think, like what you said, now he's put himself in that position where now it's the garden's out of control, and how do you prune it?
Yeah, but Tolkien was a gardener too, but he at least landed the plane and like saw it through to the end.
But the plot
I just think George R. R. Martin
is comparatively so simple. That's the beautiful thing about the Lord of the Rings is the A plot in the Lord of the Rings is one of the simplest plots in existence.
Yeah,
get the evil ring to the evil place and destroy it at the end.
Yeah.
That's everything that happens around that is world building, and it's character stuff, and it's really there's a lot of B plot, C plot, D plot in the Lord of the Rings, but he's got that very simple, very strong through line. So he has a clear destination, and it's also one of the easiest things to do if you're a writer and you want to write a long, expansive book. Setting it as effectively a travel book is probably the easiest thing you can do. I think like Treasure Island is a really good example of this. Like there's a lot going on in Treasure Island for a kid's book, but what is the thing that really keeps it together? They have a single destination in mind. They have to go there to find the treasure and go home, and that's it. And that
finish your damn book, Martin.
No.
Sorry, I just had to get that off my chest.
I think he probably just went to too many red carpet backstage parties, got used to it. I also think there's like a lot of pressure now because
I think he's taking too much time off.
He didn't realize everyone loved it. That's the other thing. He didn't realize people needed him to finish this book. He didn't realize
no. He's got a big toxic fans on his blog. He can't write.
I think he got lost in. I think he got lost in the weeds. Stepenzo. I think he's just. Yeah.
I also think that too. It's like he's waited too long, and now there's too much pressure. And also the big problem, HBO already ran with it and killed it. So there's 2 theories that like he's holding it back because HBO actually did the book faithfully.
The book,
and they hate
what happened.
Possibly, and he's got writer's block trying to change it or fix it. The other option is that maybe it is finished and he's just like got it set in a safe somewhere and he's just waiting till he dies.
He's old, rich, and lazy is what he is.
Yeah.
He's got his money. How long is he gonna live past this? And it's a lot of work to bring this back together, and he's gonna get probably attacked on some level for no matter what he does. So he's just gonna keep trolling us.
It's not like he's doing nothing either. Like he's got writing credits on a few video games. He's been doing like shows here and there.
Hey, didn't he do Elden Ring?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah,
Elden
you guys
Ring,
did the lore for Elden Ring.
But bringing this back to bringing this back to Arcane, this is my fear for season 2.
No.
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 Is that you?
No.
Is that Andrew that's saying that?
No, that's me.
It's Zach.
I'm fearful of what's going to happen in season 2 because it's such a big success that it's going to be
Blue Eye Samurai.
Exactly same thing for Blue Eye Samurai. Like it's going to lose its focus,
and then they trick you.
But get back to this scene here. You see the relationship between Silco and Jinx, and you see her act like a little girl here, and she's like feeling like she needs forgiveness for the actions that she's caused from Silco, and you see Silco acting like Vander here, treating her like a father figure, and it's quite the dynamic relationship. It's going back and forth because then later on you see a different characteristic with her later on, like this right here, like that's a perfect spot. Like you see this, he loves her, he genuinely loves her like a daughter, and she loves him. Go ahead.
He's entering.
Like
he's kind of.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this will be quick. He's just kind of entering his twilight years too. He's starting to get gray in the hair. He's basically entering the Don Corleone phase. He's old and he can't really. He's starting to lose control over the power that he worked so hard to create.
But yeah, they also show that she's kind of emotionally stunted still. Like she still acts like a child, like sitting on his desk, sitting on his lap. She still seems like she's the same age as she was when she was, when we last saw her.
Yes, like
Which
she's
is
emotionally
very common for someone that goes through that level of trauma.
Well, she's emotionally stunted, right? She's just kind of like she does these tantrums and she acts like a little 5-year-old kid here. Which you would see with someone going through that amount of trauma that she has gone through.
Something that I do like is Jinx plays with the eyedropper, like an airship. Before Silco grabs it, and I think there's a scene.
It's not an eyedropper. It's an eye stabber.
It is an eye stabber. I forgot. I can't remember. I can't remember if it's this episode or next episode. Because I did end up getting carried away and watched like half of episode 5.
Are you guys watching this like every week? You watch one episode until you guys finish the review. Oh my god, I can't do
that. I've already made an hour-long video about it. I almost don't even want to watch it at this point.
So there's a specific frame when Jinx shows Silco the hex gemstone. Where the camera leaves Jinx out of frame when she hugs him, and then Silco's attention is fully on the gemstone, kind of showing, hey, he does not love her as much as he loves his ultimate goal.
Maybe, but there is a bit of an implied decision there. I know exactly what frame you're talking about.
Yep. Yeah,
and it's very good
because he looks back at her and then looks at the gemstone.
Yeah,
and there's this. He doesn't. I wouldn't say he loves her as a daughter. He loves her as a daughter in his sick, twisted way, where he is constantly, pulling the worst out of people. And he sees the worst in her, and he's just fascinated by it.
Yeah. He's fascinated by it. He can relate with her, and she's like a tool that he can use.
And
he thinks
there's a scene there's a line in that scene where he says something about, go back to your room or something. I don't know. I don't think he called it a room. But he says, go back to your room, and she's like, I don't need a break. And he's like, take one anyway. Work on your gadgetry. The gadgetry that's like psychopathically killing people in the worst.
Work on your bombs.
Ways. Yeah, and it's like, okay.
She's like, I don't need time.
He is pulling the worst attributes.
Go work on your bombs. We need some for
much.
ISIS.
He loves her in the most sick and twisted way possible, which is lust. He loves what she can do for him. And he's
this
more.
Comment.
More.
Sorry, Andrew. Keep going.
Oh yeah, no, you can go.
Well, this comment here, it bugs me. People see this as a sexual relationship.
Yeah.
I don't get that thought at all.
Me neither.
I mean, they are weirdly.
I said in my comment right here. I was like, if I worked for Silco, I definitely think he was trying to like maybe in love with her or something. But as an audience member, you get these closer looks at this dynamic.
I mean,
but like
they are weirdly affectionate for like not being biological father. Sort of like this is the surrogate father.
That's where the mistake probably comes with. I think it's a function of two things. It's a function of Jinx's character design and the way that she moves, and the way, as you point out, that she's like in very, very close in a way that's not quite young girlish. I think from Silco's perspective, then that's where it all falls down, because it's quite clear from when you look at his character, the way he acts, what he does, and what he says, that the sexual element isn't there. I can see why some people took away the other impression, but certainly later on in the show, particularly toward the very end of the show, when you realize that he does see something genuinely almost fatherly, as Andrew was saying, his kind of corrupted fatherhood in his relationship with her. It's like, it's what she represents and the possibilities that she represents. That's what he's beguiled by.
Let's say I was going to introduce you all to my surrogate daughter, and she showed up and she was like Cammy from Street Fighter, wearing like a leotard with her no pants. It'd just be weird, right? Even if I wasn't,
she just sits on your lap and just leans against your head.
Yeah, but I've never felt that energy came from him. Well, I don't think he was ever the source of that energy. That was always her.
That was her, exactly.
There's another good thing where it's like his relationship with Jinx is a twisted and sick version of the relationship Vander and Vi had.
Yeah.
Yes.
They had Vi had the conversation in like the back room alone, talking about violence and how it doesn't solve your problems, just makes more of them. And then you have him talking to her on a bridge, or the bridge, and then you have the scene where Jinx and Silco are in the river, which is just the most sickening. I think that's probably the most sickening scene in the show, rather than like episode 3 is the most tragic, where he's just like, he's telling him, like, he's just giving her his entire like manifesto of how he built his empire and the manifesto in which he lives by.
Yeah, let Powder die and become the monster that I need you to be.
And and then you will become perfect. It's a lot
Their
of
relationship. It reminds me more like a twisted, like a darker version of The Professional with Natalie Portman and Jean Reno. It's kind of more like that. Like all the sexual energy is coming from this confused young lady.
Well, there's the other thing as well, which is, she's done all of her growing up in effectively the back room of a very seedy underground bar. Right. Like, what relationships and what affection has she seen people showing? It's probably that kind of thing. Like, she isn't inner child, but she's kind of mimicking the style of people around her. So it's innocent, but it just doesn't look that way.
Yeah, and I've been around people who are like emotionally and mentally stunted, and one thing I notice is that they do tend to like latch onto one person, especially if it's their mother or their father, and they'll be like kind of in their space, not really respecting their boundaries or anything. It does happen in the real world, but yeah, I can see how people kind of came away with that impression, especially with the way Jinx is dressed, but I don't think it's there.
No. Getting back to this, we're at a party. There's Mel here.
Mommy Mel.
Conversation. Mommy Mel, yeah. Having a
You've
conversation.
been hanging out with Shiny too much, haven't you?
Shiny, nah.
She's only focused. She mentions that she's only focused on one thing, and that's this individual right here, Jace.
She said in episode 2 that she's the richest person in Piltover.
Yeah.
So it makes sense that the only person that she's interested in is the man that's pushing the most like technological evolution stage, and
which puts her, funnily enough, in it, because this show is brilliant with its parallels, but that puts her in the position of Silco with Jinx. Like, he is her Jinx. He's the agent of chaos who is brilliant, and she is exploiting that brilliance in order to get what she wants. In the same way as, in a much more pure and nice way, Vander did that with Vi as well. Like, yeah, it's all deliberate. That's the lovely thing about the show. You can make these inferences, but you can be pretty damn sure that they were planned.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some strong parallels in this show, and I kind of paired them off in my video, and I always thought that Mel and Savika, I always have a hard time remembering her name too. I always found they were kind of parallel in a way, because like they are sort of like happy to be the number 2 character, but they are interested in like getting to that seat of power, or like at least enabling it. They're both very similar, like in their respective like factions, I guess, in that way. She wants that juicy Jace meat.
Juicy Jace junk. There you go, alliteration.
She wouldn't need it. I mean, think of the vibrators you could make with hex tech.
Oh, dude, no, that's disgusting.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Can vibrators, disappoint you and rough you up?
Market for hex tech.
I'm laughing because it's like Platoon like jumped into my mind and read exactly what I had in my.
That reminds me of the nose hair trimmer from episode 1 that they like dinked around it, and how like janky that.
Yeah.
Like, keep an eye out. We get to see their bedroom later. Maybe
robots,
it's in the background.
And then there's these weird. I'm surprised there aren't any hex tech robots or robosexuals or like an equivalent in this world.
Oh, it's the Techno Union guy. He probably gets listen to Techno Union. He probably gets around.
Tambor.
One thing I'm kind of nitpicking about noticing is like Jace. It's kind of looking back. Jace was very confused, like why Heimerdinger was asking him to do the speech, and it's like, bro, your face is plastered on all the blimps in town. It's time, It's like, it makes sense. Yes,
he does become every time that he's like given like more power and like climbing up the ranks, he's always like, oh, me?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I do
Right,
like him because he really, at the end of the day, he's trying to not to be perverse about it because he recognizes the bullshit that the council really does on a daily basis, and they keep testing his patience, and he tries to separate as much as he can away from that, but he's always conflicted with those issues.
I found he's basically a pylon until like the last episode.
Well, that's kind of what we said last
sort
week.
of wakes up and like he has that conversation with Silco at the pier or whatever. That's like the first time we actually see some agency from him. It's like no, that's not going to happen. This is what's going to happen, you know. But before that, it's just sort of
talking about
like
how he's
so
pure,
just happening to him. Yeah, like he's a bit altruistic, and he doesn't really have like an ulterior motive. So like he's just constantly being taken advantage of, especially by Mel.
Well,
he's a virgin.
He's looking for acceptance, because that's an like affirmation. Just because that's what led him to, attempting to fall off that building was because nobody accepted him anymore. He was a nobody anymore. Like nobody accepted him. He was an outcast, and you're like in his eyes, he lost everything. Outcast from the academy. Even his mother didn't believe in him. His sponsors left him. He didn't have anything. Here, he's looking. He sees, okay, Heimerdinger did not accept my proposal for an announcement. So I'll go to Mel. What does she think? What should I do here? And he does that a lot in the show, especially with Mel, and we see him sort of get corrupted by that through Mel, and you know that complicates his relationship with Jace, not Jace, sorry, Victor. And I think he's, and then of course his scene with Silco, he's finally taking autonomy over his actions, and then at like one of his last lines in the show is respectfully, counsel, I don't give a shit about what any of you think anymore. And
which I was like, yes, finally.
Yeah, that's some serious
character complete.
Respectively, fuck off.
Yeah.
When he said that, I was like, all right, he put on the pants today.
Yeah, so like exactly what we said, she's convincing Jace to, go ahead and announce his technology to the world.
Speaking of drip, his freaking suit is nuts.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is, man, but those like pauldrons or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
How strange is the little guys that were cheering for character arcs? Like, yes, they did an arc in this show. Fantastic.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah. It's like his arc was like not stellar.
Yeah,
but it was there.
It's there.
We had one. Let's go.
And then we see
we did it.
There's a part here that I really like, and I'm hoping, and she's like talking to herself. There's a part here, and she has all like there's
Little Clagger and Big Milo.
Big Milo, yeah. But then there's a part where she's like talking, and let's see if I can. Nope, I want to find it here.
Probably play it. You could probably play a few seconds of it.
I think it's.
Oh, I'm gonna show him.
Yep.
Because he's like, we'll show them. How does the line go again?
We'll show them
or something.
We'll
show them all. That's what it is. Yeah.
And then she kind of just mimics that by saying, "Oh, he'll see."
I clipped that in my video, but
he's
it's like you
see him. You see him, and he's actually there beside her.
Oh yeah, like a ghost.
I love that scene.
Milo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy. He's giving off Death Note vibes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I only noticed that she kind of mimicked Silco's line to her in episode 3. Just watching the show earlier today, I was just like, "Oh wait, hang on, there's more." So I've watched the show.
I just like how her alone time is just like her alone time is like sitting in this cave, just dropping bombs down this chasm. That can't be. That's gotta eventually there's got to be a finite time you could do that. A finite amount of grenades you can drop down there before something goes wrong. You're like suspended from the ceiling in some platform. It's just
your neighbors come around and say, "What the fuck are you doing? Can you keep it? Oh, God damn it!"
I was banging on the cave wall.
Get out of my head, Platoon! My God,
why is my lawn turned to ash?
Hey, why is there a dead toad in our lawn? What is that, shrapnel? Oh my gosh!
Yeah. But now, yeah, so that we see Jinx, and then we're going back again, like we've mentioned earlier, like the bouncing back and forth of the storylines. We see Victor and Jace, and he's going to continue with his speech, and then Victor's like, "Oh, you have your speech done." And then,
it's Sky. Look,
this is Sky here.
Yeah, that's Sky.
Okay,
nerd.
This scene worried me a lot, because I felt like.
Are they going to have a rift between Victor and them already? Like,
well, no, I thought like at this point I'm like, oh no, because Victor felt very like just meh in this episode to me. Well, he just like
that's the point, though, isn't it? I thought that's the strength. The real strength of this scene is that you see him getting pushed into the background and kind of pitied by the people who are all orbiting around Jace. So the woman who follows him out gives him this really sort of kind of cute, poor you kind of look.
Fine with
he's also the only character that looks worse after the time jump. He looks terrible and looks.
Well, it's because he's getting sicker. So the first time you see him in this, he's coughing into his hand and things. So like he's sick and he's fading. He's fading physically, but he's also fading in terms of the plot and the politics of the place as well. And Jace is still nice to him, and he still turns to him as though they are co-partners, but he's already got the speech written, which means that Jace has been, this is all about Jace. And then the final shot is when he puts the mug down with his face on it, and it just completely blots Victor out. Yeah. Like this is all, again, setting up everything that happens later on with the guy who needs this technology the most. The person who co-created it is the person who's going to end up being pushed to the background and then turning against the creation that he was very keen on seeing realized.
Yeah, my worry was just that, this feels very like the mug on the table blocking him out felt like very on the nose in like first watch. And I was just like, okay, I don't know where they can take Victor. And I was very worried for Victor's character at this point on the first watch through, because he felt like he was just being put on the back burner. Well, in the not only in the show in this episode, but also I didn't really see any motivations. Of course, those motivations come through later in the show, and they save him, and he becomes one of my favorite characters. It was just like a worry. I was worried in this moment on the first watch through for their relationship, because I thought it was just gonna be pretty surface level, but it wasn't. It was pretty good.
Dude, poor Lucy.
Lucy?
Who? The fucking his assistant. Victor's assistant.
Oh, Sky.
Oh, Sky.
It's turned to ash.
I was like, are you watching Charlie Brown? Like,
well, at least he had a fan.
Come on, Charlie Brown. I'll hold the ball and you kick it.
Yeah, so like he gives his speech, and then he goes against what Mel was asking him to do by moving forward with the technology that they've created.
They're playing with the hero's journey. So like one of the fundamental aspects of the hero's journey is every hero's journey has that moment when everyone refuses the call. The clever thing about it, of course, is that he's not going to go on to be a hero, because what he ends up doing in accepting the call is terribly destructive and damaging. But this is the corrupted version of that, is that he's accepted Heimerdinger's warnings against his own best interests, and that carries forward to the council scene later. Which is fairly clever. I think the council scene has some problems, but we'll get there, I guess, when we get there.
Yeah, they're not just following Monomyth for the sake of it. There's like multiple reasons for it. Like you almost get the sense that he respects the traditions of Piltover and like almost treats like Heimerdinger and his position like almost dogmatically. Like he respects the power and you know how old the whole order is and how everything came to be, and he doesn't want to just step all over that in one fell swoop. Like he already feels like he's been gifted this opportunity to speak at all, like, and to use that to sort of like, tarnish that legacy and move forward past his wishes. It was too much for him in one go.
That's the beautiful thing about it, is they come full circle, like the beginning, like you mentioned, Heimerdinger talking about the history of Piltover and what the sacrifices they had to do to create those things, and then he comes to realization, like you mentioned, like that's the beautiful thing about that scene.
Because the first time I watched it bugged the shit out of me. It's like, why aren't you just like moving forward? Like, to slow this down. You're listening to the conservative Ewok. Like, come on.
yeah.
Now listen, everyone. We're going to make Piltover great again. We're going to build the wall around Zon, and it's going to be great. It's going to be beautiful.
Guys, I don't know if you've ever done this, but if you've ever been on a stage and like signaled off the fireworks show, it's a pretty awesome feeling. All right, I highly recommend.
Look, and it's not just Caitlin who has the little like short skirt. It's the other female enforcers too.
It's a little grating.
When were you setting off fireworks? What was that? There's more story there.
Oh, I was there was a lot. It's been more than once, but the biggest time was we were playing a show at Marfa. No, not Marfa. It's a little town right outside of El Paso on the border checkpoint. I can't remember what it's called right now. This was years ago. But yeah, we did like a impromptu at an abandoned gas station. We did a show.
Nice.
And had a huge fireworks show, 4th of July. That was awesome. Did a few boat parties. Utopia Fest, big fireworks there. Yeah, anyway.
Fireworks and gas stations mix.
Texas, man. Yeah. It was wild. We were right next to a border checkpoint with like tons of weed.
No one said they were the brightest, Zach. They just they love their fireworks and gasoline.
God bless Texas.
Yeah, God bless.
That reminds me of the early scene, the Progress Day scene. They set off all the fireworks, and you've got all of the dirigibles, the airships in the sky right next to the fireworks. I wouldn't want to be on one of those at all.
Well, hopefully they're not hydrogen.
Are they trying to hit us? The pilot's like on the radio, like, what the hell's going on down there?
Well, we still have over 40 people in the viewing and in the chat. I greatly appreciate it. So
I'm actually inking chinks as we speak. I'm trying to get it done by the end of the stream so you guys can see it.
Nice. Please hit that like and subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. And you guys check out these guys' channels. These guys are putting in a lot of hard work and putting out videos and doing streams as well. So check them out as well.
Some of us are.
If you need more time inking jigs, just let us know and we'll just ramble on more.
Well, how long do you guys usually go?
6 hours.
No. 6 hours. 2.5 is our most.
We're not quite.
2 hours. What we did last
2.5. I should be finished by 2:30.
Okay.
I mean, once you guys hit like 2:30 on the hours.
Well, we're almost done. We've got like 10 minutes or so left.
Oh shit!
So
no, it's fine. We'll turn that into another 3 hours of content.
Yeah. We could go hard. Yeah.
Phrasing's depends on.
Hey, now so I phrased exactly how I meant to. All right.
We could go erect.
Go hard, right?
Got some Viagra? Did you?
I will be erect when we get to the reveal of Vi. Amen.
Viagra's 90s,
it's
bro.
Still hard by the end of the stream
nowadays.
We need to call the doctor.
So we're getting
would
to
you
this.
guys smash or pass Vi?
I feel like she would smash you if you ever.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought.
She's
hotter than most lesbians I've seen.
She's in her 20s. I would say she's probably 23 or
Smash.
24.
Zach just needs okay.
Listen,
that's all I needed. I just needed somebody to be like, "Yeah, I smashed her."
Also, it's Haley Steinfeld, so you can't go wrong, right?
Oh yeah.
Andrew's gonna do.
Like
Andrew's got the muscle mommy. I will take the little gremlin brothel lady. Gooch.
Now,
Gooch can have. I don't remember.
Gooch can have Savika.
Yeah,
no, he won't.
I'll take her. Robotic
No,
arm.
what was the officer? Grady? What was her name?
Grayson.
The French lady who died? Yeah, Grayson. Yeah, someone's got Gooch and Grayson.
Very respectable woman. I feel like
I guess that leaves me with Mel.
Sexy voice, guys.
Some reason I'd end up with the robot for whatever reason. So we're here, and Caitlin would be more of my scene. So Caitlin is
that's not Caitlin, Jay.
That's not Caitlin. That's another
It's another
in the background.
She'll do though.
She'll do.
Oh, that's not.
She's also
Caitlin's
fun.
not even in shot right now.
These are just
eyes.
There, right there. Okay, sorry. Thank you.
She is. Yeah.
What is this lady racism? Oh, they all look the same.
Yeah, they do. They do.
Real.
Yeah,
lady
Had a name for
racism.
lady racism. Lady
she's getting her
racism sounds like an
balls
awesome superheroine.
Sounds like a band. What's up, the Hypno? Thanks for joining us.
No.
Yeah, so like she's getting her balls busted by the group here as they're, making jokes about her being, elitist and, lowering herself to their level and doing the work that they do.
I do like this.
Another reason why I started warming up to this character is because like it kind of rolls off her like a duck. Like she doesn't care. She just sort of does this little smile like, yeah, you guys could be commoners and make fun of me. I know what I am. And
another thing I like is
I can respect that.
They banter and they like make fun of her, but as soon as the fire happens, like all of them are equal. They're like, all right, we need to stop this.
Yeah, actually, she's the one calling the shots. She's the only one level head. She's like, go get the fire brigade. There's a fire. We got to do this. We got to do that.
And they all
Everyone's just sort of standing there like, oh.
They're like, oh yeah, we need to get the fire brigade. Yeah, it's a nice because like she knows what she needs to do in that moment, rather than like being a bumbling idiot like most characters like Caitlyn are, or like Rings of Power, Galadriel.
Not the same.
No, not not the same because she's
Did you
terribly
have a lot of
written.
beans this morning,
But
sweetheart?
Galadriel in Rings of Power reminds me of a Caitlyn who was just completely botched. There's so many ways the show could have been terrible, man. But it's brilliant.
The problem with this with Caitlyn here is that does she have the life experience to be that steady leadership individual?
Well, she's not leading them. She's just there is a fire.
There is a fire there, but she takes control of the situation. Like now,
she's probably doing technical training.
I don't think that's much of an experience thing, rather than a.
It's an impulse.
Just an impulse. Like
the impulse is fine. I think it's more the characterization that's in question, because if she has grown up in this incredibly rich family, being quite pampered, has she had the opportunity to mix with this sort of person before, such that she can let these kinds of insults roll off her because she's able to walk between both worlds? I don't know that there's been quite enough set up for that. That's what they're going for. I just think it might have been a stronger character arc for her had she begun as quite a sensitive, prissy person who over time comes to speak the language of her fellow officers, as opposed to being able to start from that position.
Yeah, and that's why I think her character intro is a bit weak, because they don't really satisfy that. Like, it's a fine character intro if they gave us a good enough reason for her to have the agency that she has, or to have the drive that she has. Like, what happened to her? What did she experience? Is there someone that she looks up to that does this? Like, we don't have anything to latch onto. It's sort of like, she is this character because she is this character.
The only person she looks up to is Jace, really, in the first, or she admires him.
Does she though? There's always some form of like
just sees him more as a buddy.
Yeah, it's either that or she's just like a little more jealous that he has these opportunities right now, and because she's a woman and her family is involved into her affairs, that she can't grow. And to some people, a good portion of people, that can turn into jealousy. He's like, damn, he's got the opportunities and I don't, and now he's sitting here trying to do me favors, and I don't want that. Like, I want to earn it myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the thing about the
really had to do.
Go ahead.
All they really had to do to fix this scene was kind of change up her body language a little. Like when they're insulting her, kind of have her squirm and stew and look a little bit annoyed. And then when the fire comes, she's like, okay, call the fire department, because if she had been trained for this, like she would know the procedure of it. She probably just wouldn't have any experience in it. So she would know what to do in theory, but she wouldn't know how to.
I found her very direct in this, and when she knew exactly what to do. Like I found her directing the patrol to do like that's where I thought, oh, she's going to be a Mary Sue, But then she goes to the underworld later on, and we see a different side to her, where she's like,
the
raw
underworld.
and, like,
that's racist.
where she's like she's just like
Passionate.
naive and gullible to everything, and everything's like, it's a whole, everything's shocking, everything that she sees. But yet when she's in this, I mean, I don't know. She's not, for me, the character's not very believable. I don't buy her character that much.
It could be the sense of familiarity. Like, she's so used to being topside that, something like that, even in the midst of chaos, it's not an extreme fight or flight because she's in an area that she knows. She's in an area, like, once she goes into the Undercity, she, at any point in time, she can get snatched up or whatever. So it's more of, adapt or die kind of situation. And I think that's where her as a character really started to change.
Yeah, you're right. Because now I think about it, because it's been a little while since I've seen the later episodes when she goes to the underground. But no, you are right, because she does seem slightly more out of place there, and they recognize that as well. So Vi is very much the guide there, and she's still quite. That's when they actually introduce her more sort of prissy upper class nature, I guess. And it works well in that scene. I'm just wondering whether they could have trailed it better.
Yeah, but sorry, I had a thought there and it slipped away.
I'm a helpless little girl and I set this building on fire on purpose.
Well, you hear the little voice, and that's Jinx's voice saying that I'm inside. I don't know what to do. There's a fire all around me. Somebody help me.
That's the aftermath of Stepenzo's hard on.
I love this Victorian fire extinguisher.
I love this fucking power stance she's got going on.
True.
Just spraying.
Well, she's kind of like almost like she can't hold it. Like she's she's putting her body into it.
Guys,
they're bloody heavy. Have you ever used one of these things? They're freaking
phrasing. Everyone.
We know what we're doing.
No, they're horrible. I lived on a boat for ages, and you had to legally have 5 of them. If you live on a boat that's over 60 foot long, you have to have 5.
5?
And
you have a boat that's over 60 feet long? Wait, what?
I did have. I sold it this year, but I lived in it for like 5 years. No, 7 years. Actually, well, no, the first one, actually, funnily enough, caught fire, burned down, and sank because there weren't enough fire extinguishers on it. The second one, though, was bigger.
You lived on a boat?
Now you're like, there's too many fire extinguishers.
Okay, after 60 feet, they start calling them yachts, do they not?
The second one sank because it had way too many fire
extinguishers. This is an old narrow boat on the canals and not rich enough for a yacht, sadly.
Platoon strikes me as some pilt-over person for sure.
He definitely is the voice of the technical union guy.
Yeah. I don't trust a man with that kind of a haircut.
Secret agent confirmed. That's what I think.
My thought did come
Agent
back.
Platoon.
So Zach, I'm curious. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on Caitlin here?
I think that with Caitlin, you guys put it well, because I didn't know why I didn't like her in this episode, and I think a lot of it was because we get to know everyone else so well, and then she's kind of an outsider, and there is that tease of maybe she's going to be a Mary Sue, and it puts you off considering how close you are to all the other characters. And so you guys kind of helped me with that. I do grow to like her, but it was not easy when you're so familiar with everyone else, and you've seen what they've been through, and plus it's a disadvantage for everyone coming after episode 3, which is so much happens. It's so heavy, and then you move on to this, and it's loading new characters, and they've all aged up, and you're kind of getting resettled again and focused, and she's at it at the same time, and I grow to like her, but I just it's a tough job really to introduce her. And I was wondering when you guys were talking earlier, if would this be a situation where you would want to do almost like a bottle episode, or would that kill the momentum of the show if you tried to do that?
I think we just need more of her in episodes 1 through 3. Because we do see her in the background as like Jace's assistant, and we're like, okay, so she admires him. She's asking about like his cool adventure to the Undercity where he got all these gadgets.
She's a glorified extra though.
Yeah.
We don't
And
learn anything about her.
She just says like, and we see her at the gate with Jace, and that's it. In this episode, you have to build an entire character. And yeah, it's a tough job.
Yeah, and they didn't even give her the intro, so it's like,
yeah, her intro is next episode, which I do really like.
I like it. It just doesn't do enough characterization, at least for what they show us about her up to this point. Like,
well,
they show us that she's a good marksman, and it's like, yeah, that's fine. But like, why does she want to be a cop? Why does she resent her upbringing?
Well, she it's in that flashback because we see she's kind of against taking the reward because she's like, oh, did my parents just tell you? We could talk about it next episode. I'm gonna ramble.
Yeah.
Anyway, this episode.
Well, it kind of contradicts what happens later on, because like this whole episode, she's got a mindset like she's like investigating things. She's like constantly, like, you see her scoping through the room, pointing things out. Like she knows like how the crime scene happened. You're seeing her right here being direct and directing people like to back away, go get the fire patrol, everything like that. And then the next like episode, you see a whole different side to her, which I just don't. It's not believable to me. Either it's either one or the other.
What scene? From the scene with her talking to Vi, or the scene of her backstory? Because
I like the relationship between her and Vi. I really like that. I wish that we would have had more of that in the first 3 episodes, like you said. Well, not with her and Vi, but more of that gullible, naive innocence to her. This episode, she comes across as almost like a like Nightwing or like Robin, like she's trying to be that person that she wants to prove herself to her parents and to everyone else that's above her. And then when she gets to the underworld, you see a different side, or she doesn't act like that at all. So it's like contradicting each other.
Well, because her parents aren't there, and also she has to like keep watch of Vi, and the show acknowledges this next episode when Vi says something along the lines of, you see, there's a problem with all of you Piltovers. You all expect for everyone to give you what you want. And then going on to say, to get what you want, you have to act like you have something to offer. And I think that's where it acknowledges that, to where, hey, we don't owe you anything. You gotta, work for what you want. And also, she's also in a completely different environment. We see her in the jail or Stillwater prison, where she is kind of uncomfortable because she's like kind of crossing the line of what she's supposed to do, and she knows if she comes back, she's definitely going to be she's already been fired. I don't know what she probably
she's breaking the law by
she's in deep shit. So
releasing Vi, she's breaking the law. Like releasing her into the Undercity, probably stacking charges, and she knows this because she's probably studied all the law books because she's a tryhard.
Tampering with evidence, aiding and abetting,
assaulting someone with a weapon.
See you, D-Wake. Thanks for joining us, brother.
See you, D.
If you guys have me back on for the next one, dude, I'll do another character if you're a choice.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You guys want to see what I got so far for it?
Hell yeah.
Do it.
Sure.
I'm gonna be
full screen
finishing up.
Hey.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really good.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
So I'm gonna be finishing this up tonight and then posting it.
That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
Also fast.
Yeah.
Jeez, that would take me forever, and it would look like shit.
Good job,
I mean,
Zach.
dude, I was so fucking hyped for this show. Like,
yeah.
Now you're stunned.
But dude, when people recommend me stuff, usually it's shit. So that's why I take my sweet ass time watching it. But I was watching, first episode got me in. It's super hard for shows to do that for me now. Like, I'm super, super picky because I don't have time to waste. I got shit to do. And if I want to watch a show, that shit better be good, or else, there'll be consequences.
Also, Watame, he did draw Gooch.
He's
did
the
draw
OG
Gooch.
illustrator of the Gooch, man.
Yeah.
The Gooch you know and love came out of his hands.
That picture haunts my nightmares.
Yeah, Zach is Gooch Prime.
that haunts my nightmares, bro. So thanks for that.
Stupenzo, I'm gonna kick you if you say that again.
Okay. All right.
I'm Gooch Prime. I'm the only
Okay. Zach is responsible for the Gooch Prime drawing.
I'm kidding. So we're seeing here that Jinx is like blowing the shit out of everything, and Caitlyn is just witnessing the explosions here. She gets knocked out, and then she witnesses Jinx. Oh, I just missed it. Right, is it here? Yep. There we go. Great scene. She witnesses Jinx walk away, like happy-go-lucky that she's done something.
She's very whimsical about it. She's just off on a stroll. I'm just gonna casually rob I'm just gonna rob the plutonium from the Pentagon, basically.
Yeah, it's a misdirect, right? Everyone's gonna be rushing to the bombs, and then she's gonna be your typical thief in the night kind of thing. So yeah, and then we get to this part here, where the next day the sphere is gone, and Jace has taken responsibility for not having proper security with the technology.
So this scene.
But then there's that piece of shit right behind him who probably let her in.
He probably yes. This scene has one clever thing in it.
No,
go ahead.
No, I don't think Marcus would have let her in because he was pissed that 6 officers died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone let her do anything.
I just don't like Marcus.
Oh yeah, no, I don't like Marcus either.
You're willing to frame him in a crime that he didn't commit. Just
you know what? Yeah, he did let her in, and he's been faking all his emotions.
Yeah, it's justified brothers. Let's do it.
I'm not gonna say that. Moving on.
Yeah, this scene. There's a clever thing in this scene, which is Mel using power to effectively trap Jace, because he's kind of let her down in the past by not going through with what she thought their plan was, but she understands that power corrupts, and so giving him power is a surefire way of bringing him on side. The dumb thing in the scene, which is quite annoying, is that it doesn't do politics properly. And to be fair, most shows don't do politics properly. But when you compare it to the quality of the writing and everything else, it kind of rankles. So Jace is here saying, it's my fault. I didn't have proper security. Now they've got the hex tech. They could potentially do all amount of damage to it. So I think we should shut everything down. And the rest of the counselors around him, which is dumb, yeah, but then the rest of the counselors around him say, oh, we can't possibly shut everything down because all my business interests will be sacrificed, etc., etc. They really hate the idea. That means they should absolutely refuse to put him on the council when she suggests it, because they've already heard what his plan was going to be, and they fucking hate it. So why would they immediately go along with her plan to put him on the council and give him the power to do that, which is annoying because it's so shallow and surface level and convenient when you compare it to the rest of the show. It's just, there must have been a better way of doing this.
I totally agree. That was my problem.
Politics, right? In shows, you kind of have to have a background in at least political science to understand how that works.
No, you just have to watch like Veep or The Thick of It or Yes Minister. That's all you need. That's like...
what I do like about the scene, the fact that the artifact got taken, is the fact that it really shows how much arrogance and overconfidence and these people are just pretty much pieces of shit. Like, they don't have to worry about anyone else like stepping on their territory, so they keep their most powerful like devices and weapons and anything of the sort just out in the open for anyone to just fucking grab.
And I love how sorry to interrupt, but I just love how the Scottish guy, when they're like, we're going to shut down trade, his mind just goes straight to booze. He's just like, what about my wine?
It's going to turn to vinegar.
One thing I do I
need my wine, damn it.
I think that'll get you.
Get that out of here. Stop it. No. Yeah.
So, another thing that I like, a little touch is Heimerdinger's response to it. His automatic response is, "You'd sacrifice your life's work," and he admires that.
I don't even believe that, because these assholes were trying to banish him for his life's work in the beginning. So I just see that as a fake facade.
Like, hey.
Well, that's pretty realistic politics. Like, they'll damn something at first, and then when they see the utility, it's like, oh, I always believed in this. Like 5 years later, when the news cycle forgets. Yes, Osawatomie, I am drinking Buffalo Trace. You know me too well.
I'm drinking water because I'm boring.
I'm having water too.
I'm drinking straight alcohol because there's things inside of me that need to die.
This part by Mel, like,
that's pretty fucking deep.
Taking exactly what they're saying and twisting it to in her favor. Again, I think, who is it, Platoon or
I do like Mark
someone
or Marcus? He's just
like,
what are they doing?
Bucky's going on here.
I have no idea. I don't care.
I do like him in the background of scenes, with the context that he has a slimy deal.
People fucking hate Marcus, and I get it. I totally get it. But like, just
rewatching, I hate him because I think he's probably the worst developed character in the show.
Yeah, I mean,
I just hate him because he's a piece of shit.
He has one good scene, and that's it.
Yeah,
in terms of his characterization.
It's also the name. The name Marcus. It's just like it sounds like a douche.
Well,
name.
you're hating on the name Marcus now.
Marcus is
Marcus.
What if that was my name?
Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius.
True. He was a cool guy.
Yeah, he's a dick.
He did nothing for Rome.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're seeing him being elected to the council now, putting a vote forward. I don't get this. Why this?
Listen,
when it comes,
it is high fashion drip. All right, listen, it's just like real life.
Have you seen
rich people?
What high fashion looks like these days?
Yeah.
Listen, she looks like she should be blending fruit and vegetables for like a juicer or something. I don't know what the hell this is.
Well, you said that, but did you see what Zendaya wore to the
Whoa. Too many people talking there. Okay, Platoon, what were you saying? Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say, did you see what Zendaya wore to the Dune premiere? I mean, it's talking about like, completely impractical, dumb-looking fashion. I think rich people making fools of themselves is quite well established.
I'd still hit that.
You know, it's bad when even showing underboob gets like groans from people like myself. It's like, ugh, you know. Ugh.
But well, like, isn't that it's kind of reminiscent of those big poofy collars that they wore like back in the Victorian era?
Oh, the cravat.
So there is a bit of that because like during the medieval period, like protecting your neck was huge, and so having these big poofed out necks became part of the fashion later on because all military garb becomes fashion eventually. So this is just like a hyper stylized extension of that, I guess. It is kind of dumb though, and it would be annoying as shit to have something clicking around your head.
Yeah, like
I'd wear it. Like that looks.
Maybe she's got OCD and it's a good distraction. I don't know.
Maybe. I know it's kind of crazy in Victorian fashion. The amount of boob they showed in Victoria fashion was funny. Like your boobs were almost falling out of the dress, but then like they covered up the neck and then their legs completely, which is weird.
Yeah, they went through phases. And they started putting these weird like metal cages under their dresses to make them all poofy.
And then crushing their internal organs to make themselves look more shapely.
That was the French. But that did spread like wildfire because
I'm gonna try and see like, hey, why not? I also tried to get Elon Musk on my show, so I'm going to try to get one of the animators to come on here. I'm going to see if I can swing it somehow and ask him a lot about the process of this animation, because there's a lot of painting, and then it goes to digital. I mean, it's God dang it! There's a lot there.
In the
words of the animators themselves, we paint.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's evident.
That's the problem with these Frenchies, man. They will not elaborate.
Dude, they don't elaborate. They say what they do, they leave.
They're also French.
They are French.
Yeah.
That's the worst part.
Well, maybe I won't ask them.
The only thing the French are good for are sex, comics, and animated movies.
Mm-hmm. And lots of buttery food.
Yeah, their cuisine's off the handle. Their like cheese, I can pass on their cheese.
Yeah, if you like butter or pastries, French.
I love this
also,
part.
I give Cajun food credit to the French.
We also come.
It is like a mixture of French and local
All right, I'm getting
cuisines
bogged
from
down.
that area.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the
These tangents. God dang it.
Listen, you invited 8 people here.
Yeah, I know.
Gonna happen. This is your problem.
That's why I'm laughing.
yeah.
We're doing good,
Get a
guys.
And then
No,
You get a
we're
nice
doing
little
awesome.
setup
two of
here
us
for
are
her.
just
Well, this
Her
butterfly
little
was in the
firelight.
beginning, so they do
Yeah.
a lot of that. You know,
Yeah,
full
well,
circle of-
she turns these
later,
into an
too.
IED, which is great.
Fucking loved this, dude. I fucking loved that.
And it makes sense that she has it because she was just at Progress Day. She had the little balloon and stuff, so of course she'll grab one of the little mechanical things. She's
And build
mechanically
100 of
inclined.
them.
It piqued her interest. She's like, "Huh, I could use this to weaponize."
True, the French do ruin everything.
Yeah, man, I'm
Viva
Canadian.
la
Tell me about it.
revolution.
She's
They
just
took
in
the
her
good
world
part
here,
of our
right?
country.
She's just happy as can be, just creating.
This is
and
after.
just-
Yeah, and Silco's real mad.
yeah, actually, I want
Half a
to
dozen
back up
officers killed.
Yeah.
Dead.
where he's screaming at her, and she's
Yeah.
just
Do you
She's
realize
like,
what you've done?
yeah. Actually, that you timed that perfectly there. Yeah. Like this is the father figure. He's like punishing her, like he's like trying to scold her here. Like
Dude,
he's-
his drip is off the charts too.
Dude,
yeah. Oh,
What
I
the
know,
hell?
look at
dude,
that.
I would
Gold
do.
trim.
Dude, I want to do a Silco cosplay just to wear it at the grocery store because it's so fucking
Yes.
cute, dude.
Why at the grocery store?
Dude, I'll be the best looking person there.
He's gonna pick
Do it
up
in
some
front of the
chicks
French
with daddy
bread.
issues at
Employer-
home.
This girl's crazy about a
Employer's gonna
dressed
like-
man.
An employee's gonna show up. Oh, sir, you're taking too much bread. Can you stop me? No, you can't. You
Yeah.
work $15 an hour. I will look like Silco. Please stop talking to me.
Oh my God.
Just-
I'd assume that you.
shopping with Silco, yeah.
In an alternate dimension.
So yeah, this is a great scene, and then she shows him the what is this, the hexiphere
Hex Tech
sphere?
gemstone.
Hex
Gemstone.
The hex gem.
I guess this is
Hex gem.
technically the hex gem because it's been stabilized.
Mhm.
What did I say, amateur? I said I would forget everything that I was like.
Yeah, that's why you have
Going
me here. I'm
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like the world's shittiest thesaurus.
She does so many moments where, Silco would have just fucking killed anyone else if they did that shit. But it's not the fact that they have a daughter-father bond. It's the fact that she's gonna do something that's gonna make up for whatever heinous act that she's doing, and it balances itself out. So he's kind of like, well, I want to kill this bitch right now. But then she's, like, oh, never mind. I guess it's okay.
Yeah, she embodies like everything that he stands for, like this inner monster that's just pure chaos, and like the embodiment of Zahn, or his dream for Zahn, just being this unhinged chaos, this body that's just will do whatever it wants.
Mm-hmm.
I love that look on his face now. He's very Oppenheimer-esque, and now I have become death.
Yeah, well, it's a really good shot though as well, because it shows the different priorities they have. He has eyes only for this thing that she's given him, and she has only given it to him because it's him. So it tells you quite a lot about what their priorities are here. Even though as we see later, he does very much care for her, quite loyally, in fact. It's still because he has his eyes on this magical little gemstone.
There's no one worried that it's throwing off radiation. That's my thought. It's like, is this plutonium?
That's a good point. So what? Magic is like containing its energy source or something within it, like so nobody else gets affected.
Well, good thing
Yeah.
Silco dies at the end of the show. Otherwise, he'd have cancer in about 5 years.
Don't touch warm rocks. If the rocks are warm, stay away.
Well, he already
everyone,
had the
If they're
radiation
warm for
from
no
that lake.
reason.
everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. Please hit that like and subscribe, and also follow these guys up here on their channels. We'll review
Can
it
you make
at the
that
end
big
of the show.
red button say whatever?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm using that on my stream to put obscenities on and just like blast like.
I knew you were gonna go there.
Just because you could does not mean that you should.
Yes.
On my stupid show, hell yeah, we should. You guys ever watch my dumb podcast? Don't worry about it.
Nas, thanks for joining us. I tuned back and it's in a I tuned back in and it's a panel full of twinks and other otter. Yeah.
I would be a bear.
I'll have you know, I am not an otter. I am a yordle. There is a difference, young man.
So now we're seeing Caitlin piecing everything together again. She's taken all the photos and she's being detective mode.
Yeah, this is that thing I was complaining about earlier. I mean, it's good. Yes. It's good detective work. It's just that we're only now seeing it, which is the only problem, really.
Yes.
I was about to say, I did really like this part. I'm wondering what you didn't like about it, but
I think agree. It really is, yeah, it's just the fact that she's been doing all of this off screen, and there's an important amount of character development that goes into any kind of detective work like this, which she really could have benefited from as well, given the complaints we've had about her being relatively shallow compared to the others. It does feel very much like we need the plot to move along at this point, so we need to get her to the place she needs to be as quickly as possible. So she's already done all of the work, and here it is in front of us. I think the scene is good. It's just that it's unsupported by stuff that it really could have benefited from before it.
Yeah, I would love to talk to the writers about stuff like this, because it's like, how much of it was a time constraint, how much of it was budget, how much of it you just weren't planning on doing.
This episode is like one of the shortest ones. It's only like 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's surprising.
And looking at it, I was like, wow, that's surprising that it's that short. I think if they gave this episode if it feels full, it's just like if they gave it like an extra like 15 minutes. It'd probably be.
And if they filled that up with Caitlin doing detective shit, that would have fixed a lot of problems. Because some of my favorite parts of this episode are her, going through the events on the airship, and this part where she's actually deducing what's actually happening, like it's some kind of deep dark conspiracy, which is kind of ironic.
I also like this. She has to stand on the stool to get to the height of Jace. I like that. Yeah, it's neat. Where she has to she has to compensate for things that she can't do by herself. Like she needs tools to.
She needs to be propped up by furniture.
Yeah.
Well,
she's very.
It's a small
thing, but it's neat.
The thing about this shot also is that she's in her bedroom. She's locked in her bedroom by her parents to recover, and her bedroom is the size of the tavern that they go to drink at in the last drop. Pretty much, it's like a huge bedroom, nicely lit. Look how beautiful it is in here, showing how she's a privileged individual, and she can just pull up a stool to look at the pictures.
It's a green flag with ladies when they have a bunch of plants and they're not dead.
Yeah,
green flag. Inside
Although
the house.
She probably has staff, so
make sure you find yourself a lady who has housemaids and people to water her plants.
Yeah.
She gets white orchids and she throws them to the ground like they're nothing. So I wouldn't read too much into that.
I would just get fake plants, just plastic ones.
Smart.
I like how they look, but I'm not putting any effort into them.
Am I seeing an old school top hat detective trench coat thing in the background?
Right here, Inspector Clouseau.
Yeah, sorry, it's coming in at 140p on my end here.
Game's afoot.
I saw this as showing us that the opulence she lives in, but yet she's focused on what's happening right in front of her still. She's trying to do her job and get better at it. So I think this made me like her more to show she's not, yes, it's a nice cage, but she's right back to work.
Yeah, even we see that when she just she accepts the flower from Jace, and then she just throws it into the bundle of the other flowers.
Yeah, ceremony means nothing.
Small neat things I like.
Which is the other point of the scene as well, because doesn't he tell her that her parents have got her removed from the force, so he's offering her the job of personal security, which she actually explicitly says is just a ceremonial role, which she doesn't care about. So that aspect of her character, I think, is quite well established. It's the rest which is slightly lacking.
It's kind of dumb that Jace doesn't realize this about her, though.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's just trying to add to his naivety, but
she figures out herself, what it is. She reads it, it's like, oh no, and I think from the way Jace acts, he knows that it's a long shot, and because he says this is the best I can do for you, because
it's also it sort of plays on his growing narcissism, I guess. He's offering her a job as his private security now that he is on the council. It's still all about him.
Yeah.
In the end, and he should have known that she wouldn't accept that, but he presents the offer anyway because he's not really thinking about her. He's thinking about where she is in position relative to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of almost reverse roles because then, wasn't it episode 2 where she was he was on the other side of the gate and he was standing on the outside looking in as she runs back into the huge mansion as Mother's watching her, and now he's kind of has this kind of power and she's kind of on the other side of the gate looking in kind of moment, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So here we are. She goes to the prison.
Stillwater prison. This place is crazy.
This is where I make reference to another Batman, because in Batman there's Blackgate, there's Arkham, but this is more like Blackgate, where they lock up a lot of the lower level prisoners that are not psychotic, or I guess not lower level, but prisoners that are not considered they don't need psychiatric help.
In the asylum.
Yeah, it's a fancy gulag.
Yeah, so there's a lot of similarities to Batman in this series, with Jinx, with the prison, with Caitlin, with a lot of the characters. I just wanted to point that out. But
I'm going to be that guy and say that this scene, though I think it looks lovely, also annoyed me, and I think it's because convenience at least and contrivance at worst follows Caitlin like a plague. This is another scene in which that's the case. So the basic setup is that she goes there, she wants to speak to the grunt from the beginning of the episode, and she can't because he's been assaulted. My mind immediately thought, well, obviously that's going to be one of Silco's people who are shutting him up, right? Because that makes sense. They don't want him to be able to talk. If they think he might be able to talk, then they're going to shut him up. The fact it turns out to be Vi, because the show needs them to make contact in this scene, I think is, again, slightly too convenient. It's not
it does make sense though, because this is the dude that she stood up against in episode 3. So if she sees him in the prison, she's gonna assault him the first chance she gets. That's just, I didn't really see that as contrived, but I see your point.
I think
I don't think so.
The scaling amount of stuff. So he gets put in the same prison that she happens to be in. They happen to have met each other once before, and they had a fight back then. Never mind the fact that there could be any number of other people she's already punched in the past. You might already be in the same prison. And they happen to get into a fight just before Caitlin turns up, because Caitlin needs to see her in order that Caitlin can then say, I need to see the person who assaulted him, even though that's a slightly strange decision for her to make as well, in order that they can meet each other. It's not the worst example of contrivance you'll ever find in media. I just think, again, compared to the rest of the show's high standards, there's a lot of slightly convenient elements being piled on top of each other.
Yeah, I don't mind that there's they're at the same prison, because it seems to be there's some kind of super prison they seem to send everyone to. But the problem is the fact that they're this huge man and this young lady are in the same wing together. They're having lunch together. That's recipe for disaster in prisons.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So I think
There's a reason prisons are separated by sex.
I think it's fine for him to end up in Stillwater because Marcus says it. So earlier in the show,
don't compare Platoon to Doom, or do not compare Platoon.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna have to bite on that one. Just because you can pick a fault, or you can say that you have a fault with a show which you otherwise really very much like, does not mean that you hate the show.
Dumber's been playing games for 30 years. He knows
that
everything.
should be so obvious. If you spent more than 5 minutes on YouTube, you should know it by now.
Yes.
So, so earlier in the show, when Caitlin is on the ship, and she's talking to the guy, and then Marcus quickly comes in, shuts her up, and then says, "Hey, get this guy to Stillwater." Communicating that Stillwater is just the place that they throw people that they need to shut up, just because, I think the guard even says, "People here don't get visitors." This is where you just go to die. I think it's fine for Caitlin to want to talk to the person that beat up your your suspect, because you
Well,
could get evidence there. You
Yeah,
can't.
it makes sense
Yeah,
for her
you can't make.
investigation.
You can't get evidence from the guy himself. So if you're here already, why wouldn't you just go and investigate the person who assaulted him in the first place? Like, what was your relationship with him?
Well,
do
if you think about it,
any leads?
The person
with
that silences the grunt is a better lead than the grunt, because it's
and even
closer to getting to the masked mastermind behind all these crimes that she's
And
connecting.
even later in the show,
shouldn't this guy be in like the hospital wing or something because he got shot in the shoulder? Or would they hold him overnight?
Just a minor inconvenience.
There is the other thing as well, which is that the reason he can't speak to her is that like she punched him and broke his jaw.
Yeah,
he can write stuff.
Right.
Well, she took a tray. She took a food tray.
Oh yeah, she hit him with a tray. The point is, there are other means of communicating besides speech. Again, I will reiterate, this is far from the worst example of contrivance you will ever see. It's still, the episode is still pretty strong. It's just the little things like that fall short of the show's very high standards otherwise. So they're not defeating the episode by any means. It's just that I think it could have been slightly tighter.
And none of them really jump out at you either. Like, you have to really pay attention and like apply a lot of logic to it before you start finding some of these. But
this point right here, I have quite the chuckle. She's punching the wall, the rock wall.
Concrete, man.
She's punching concrete.
Dude, Kyle.
Her hand would be smashed. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you're going to tell me.
But it's
her bones would shatter. Her bones would shatter. And
let's say she was breaking the concrete somehow. I don't think the guards would be cool with that. You know, hey, you're kind of like tunneling out of here. What's going on here? Come on.
That's why they put her on.
She's pulling a Wreck-It Ralph.
40.
Okay, first of all, and this is a fact, female bones, like, because they don't get enough calcium, they're weaker.
Milk.
You hear that, ladies?
Milk. That's why they get osteoporosis.
Damn, Gooch, you're being sexist. Don't you know women can do everything that men can?
No, there's... Well,
chat, report the stream.
Facts.
Report it! It's your civic duty if you're not a sexist.
It doesn't matter for hands are wrapped. It does not matter for hands are wrapped. She's not going to get calluses. The wall always wins. I tell that.
Well, it depends on how hard she's hitting. She's probably just like, still like throwing
she's
like
hitting
adrenaline.
Pretty fucking hard.
Yeah, dude.
Well, the wall
that does not strengthen your punching power. It has.
I mean, I don't forgive anything like that. I mean, it's an animated show; it's stylized. So like, I don't necessarily mind anything too much like that. It's trying to convey part of her character, which is that, you know, she is tough as bricks, literally tough as bricks, because she's punching them right now and she's not in pain.
I would like to point out concrete is significantly harder than clay brick, but yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jay, it's girl power though, right? Like, she has girl power, so she's fine.
Yes.
It's Haley
that's where I was kind of going with
guitar
this.
riff.
This is the part where I just kind of like cringe. I'm like, okay.
But if you're going to copy a property, then Old Boy's pretty good.
True.
Wasn't there some old like karate dude, like Stone Fist or whatever, that practiced punching something until the calluses on his knuckles was actually like steel?
They would use water, and then they transition to rice, just to like calcify and.
Oh, is that what they did?
It's little micro fractures in the bones that cause them to get, when they grow back, they'll get denser. And you do the same thing with your shin bones and your arm. It's
that's
crazy,
why people
dude.
would kick trees and stuff.
Yeah.
If you put your finger over my shin, it'd feel like a saw, because of like all the kickboxing and.
I can't wait.
Is that the after hours stream?
That's after dark.
Tempt us with a good time, Gooch.
Gooch shins after dark.
Even if you're playing guitar, you get like calluses because it's the steel or the wire is kind of cutting into your fingers a little bit, so it's making the tips of your fingers a lot harder than they normally are.
Dude, my bass player's fingers are like insane. They're like,
bass players get nasty calluses.
Dude, his fingers feel like little hot dog shaped rocks.
I got like 5 calluses on my index fingers from drumming.
If she punched through the wall, then we have an issue. Yeah. I just wanted to point that out because
Hulk smash.
Andrew's here, and he made an issue about Blue Eye Samurai, and I had to bring it up.
She is dodging bullets from a gun that she's never seen before.
She's punching holes into concrete.
Is it a hole? Run it back.
Okay, I'll run it back.
She's punching cracks. She's punching cracks. She's definitely doing damage to a concrete wall.
Yeah, she's like chipping away at it, Wreck-It Ralph style.
And like I said, if I was the guard, I'd be like, "Hey, bye, stop that!"
See,
it looks like just it looks like just dust.
We're tired of moving.
She's
you
punching pretty hard.
She's punching really hard.
Also,
either way,
there's bigger issues than Blue Eye Samurai.
No. It's
boys. Let's compromise. They're both cartoons. Cartoons can get away with things that live action can't. There, done.
That's exactly it.
Well, for me, it's the sound effect. The sound effect should be like those Fight Club punches where they sound like just like meat, like slapping, packing. That's what the hand should sound like against concrete.
I like the old 70s ones where it sounds like fly swatters.
Oh yeah, what they would do is they take celery, they take a bunch of celery and hit it with a broomstick. That's what that famous John Wayne punch is.
Yeah. And then we see Vi, and I just want to like show her back more.
That's
she's
terrifying.
Got that Chris Cyborg back.
Everyone's got tattoos.
True, she does.
Dude, she's got
it's like
serious
in this future.
tattoos.
It's like punk rock Nazi tattoos.
Look at those traps. She looks like a man.
Yeah, she looks like Chris Cyborg. Like she's just ripped. And then that's pretty much where we end up. Mommy. And that's pretty much where we end off.
Big cliffhanger, though.
My wife.
Yeah.
Mike Obama.
Well, guys,
R.I.P. Joan Rivers.
That is episode 4. Your general thoughts. We'll start off with amateur. You can read it. You can just give your general thoughts.
You always start with me.
Well, you're right beside me, bud.
You did that.
Order.
Okay, let's go. Zach, do you want to start us off? You missed last week.
Yeah, sure. It's a tough one to come back to after episode 3. I think they built themselves, a bit of a hurdle there, but I do think that they, for the most part, cleared it. I like the episode. I like the time jump aspect of it too, reintroducing the characters. And I wanted to see Vi earlier, but I do get why they held her off until the end of the episode. And it does have the effect they wanted, I think. You get to know Caitlin, which is a good thing. You do have to get to know her. I mean, all these episodes are good, and I'm not an artist, but damn, it looked good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It did. Yeah. I know we rated it out of 10 or however we wanted to rate it. I'm not sure if you want to rate this episode.
8, probably 7.5 to 8.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Zach,
or as Lofty says, average.
Average, yeah.
Yeah. Is it average for?
Unless it's Avatar, then it's glorious.
No, yeah, he thinks 7.5 is an average movie.
Yeah.
Love you, Lofty.
No, 5 would be an average movie because it's right in the middle.
Because
it's not bad. It's not good. It's not. It's average. Lofty doesn't make sense. Lofty breaks my brain. Help.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense in either way, because if you're doing it numerically, 5 is definitionally the average, and if you're doing it by the average quality of films, most films are not 7s. So none of those are averages.
Hurts.
Anyway,
Lofty broke my brain.
We're going on.
Next, we're going to talk about AI art.
Install.
Oh no!
Lofty logic in your brains, and everything makes sense.
Yeah. Zach, what are your general thoughts? And if you wanted to rate it, you can go ahead and rate it.
I'd rate this definitely an 8. For me, is that I'm a sucker personally for a build-up episode that like really pans out, and if the payoff in the end is fucking amazing, then an episode like this does really good. So in this case, I'd say an 8. And then personally, like I really love the character like Jinx. I honestly I thought that was a good setup for her. See how fucking broken she was, and kind of like what's in store for what's gonna happen for the resolve between her and her sister, on top of just some of the other characters coming into play. I honestly I don't care for Caitlyn. I really don't. I care more about like the what do you call it, those surfboard riding people,
The
Firelights.
the fire, yeah,
Firelights, yeah.
those guys were fucking amazing. Those, like, when I saw them, that was a good intro to the episode. So yeah, like that, those are my thoughts. And before before you pass it on, I'm damn near close, so this is what it looks like.
Nice.
And
Nice.
so
Really good.
next episode, if you guys have me in, what
You'll be
characters,
here.
what characters should you have me draw?
Heimerdinger.
Fine.
Fi it is.
Gearhead.
Andrew wants
Gearhead's
Fi.
my favorite, guys. Draw Gearhead.
What Tambor?
Heimerdinger, what's your general take?
Dog
and rating?
cameo.
Well, having been there myself,
there
I
it
thought it was quite
Yeah.
traumatizing, and I would not rate this as a positive experience in any way. This was a very tragic day for the cities of Piltover and Zon, but just out of character for a second, I thought it was a pretty good episode. I thought it does. It's hard doing character. I don't think I'm gonna do this.
I can't tell the difference. Are you out of character?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you don't have
Yes,
to try
I-
so
It was
hard.
so funny when Analyst said it originally. I was like, oh my god.
Yes. Anyway, I am out of character, but just being out of I would say it's a really good episode. It does a good job of establishing where these characters are after the time skip. It does a good job of teasing at the firelights for later in the series. It does a good job of establishing that Jinx is gone through her evolution. Now she is now the broken psychopath they teased in the trailers and everything. It is kind of contrived, as we discussed in some parts, but it's not so much that it ruins it or breaks it. So I'm gonna comfortably stick it at an 8. It's not episode 3, but it does a pretty good job. It does a nice little job of setting up all the political intrigue and the mystery and everything.
Mm-hmm. Platoon, your general thoughts?
Yeah, I think it does. It takes precisely the right approach following episode 3, because there's absolutely no way you can keep up that sort of high octane, high stakes tension. Diminishing returns would kill it. And they don't try to milk it either, because if they tried to milk it, then the impact of episode 3 would be diminished. So I think they did precisely the right thing by A, doing the time skip, and B, picking up, just accepting that had all happened, so we can build again basically from the ground up. We're introducing some new characters, or in the case of Caitlyn, kind of new characters. We're going to take our time. We're going to do exactly what made the first 3 episodes good. We'll just repeat that. I think that was the right approach to take. There were probably more, as I've said, slightly more like minimal problems with the episode than is usual for this show. They don't drag it down particularly far, but they do exist, I would say. And that's a bit of a shame. But on the other hand, it's really doing a good job of building out the next phase of the world building and the political intrigue, as has been mentioned. So I would probably stick it at like 7.5.
Nice. Andrew, your general thoughts there, sir?
Yeah, I do. I really appreciate this episode for things that it does well that I usually don't like in stories. Time skips is one of them. It's probably one of my biggest gripes of storytelling, is just skipping over massive amounts of times, because usually there's something in that time skip that needs to be explained in terms of character development. It was my biggest gripe with Stranger Things. It would only skip like a couple months, but even then there's so much stuff that they need to cover like right after the main plot ends in terms of character development, that they just skip over it. It's one of my biggest problems with Edge Runners too. It has a time skip. I hate it. I don't think it's necessary at all, and it took me out of the entire show. But it does it really well. The show finds a perfect place to start a time skip, and it finds a pretty perfect place to end the time skip during a festival, an expo for the city, to add more world building on top of it. It has a lot of neat character stuff, like introducing our characters back into the story, and it's jarring to see how different our characters are when we see them in the future. Of course, there's characters that are still the same, like Jace and Victor, although Victor is getting sicker and he looks sicker. And then we see dramatic shifts in character like Jinx and Vi. And then on top of that, it's good drama, good setup for the next 2 episodes, because I think the show does a really good thing when it kind of structures it like 3 movies, and like this being the first act of the next arc. So I'd probably agree with a 7.5. I'll go there. Yeah, good, neat episode. I appreciate it.
Okay. Stupenzo, your thoughts
yeah.
there,
I mean, I like this episode as a good. This is technically episode 1. The last 3 were just like a really intense prologue, and I liked all this world building stuff. I mean, it's obviously, like I said, it's like everyone said, it's not as strong as some of these others. I think it is funny that we did talk about this episode longer than episode 3, but there are 2 more guests, so it makes sense. But I don't know. Same. I guess I agree with most people. 7.5. Solid episode leading us into the next foray. So yeah, I thought it was some good cyberpunk tech hex tech stuff going on, and some good introductions to these new older characters and building everything up.
Nice. Wouldn't it be like magic punk?
Yeah, it's magic like punk. Steampunk next gen
Victorian punk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amateur, your general thoughts there, bud?
Yeah, like everyone else said, like it sort of has to pick off where episode 3 left off, and of course they can't keep that sort of energy. You kind of have to go up and down, and they do a pretty good job of coming back. The time skip feels organic. The Jinx reveal is awesome. All the character designs after we've sort of like jumped forward in time are all really, really good. Like you can tell everyone's, who they were from the first act. Let's see now. Yeah, we get like the first little tidbits of like the video game aspect of it with the gravity defying gloves and the Victor's like little laser beam thing, which could have been handled very poorly and like sort of on the nose, or what's a better way of saying that? Like it could have been like a bit more, campy or video gamey, sort of like leaning into the fact that it is League of Legends, but they didn't. They kind of like pushed the world building into the background and kept focusing on the characters. I do like Kate as a character, I think, more than some of the people on the panel. She kind of grew on me over time. Definitely didn't like her as much at first, but yeah, the way she's introduced, it's sort of like, we're going back after we've introduced all these characters, made you really care about them, and then had all this crazy crap happen to them, and now here's the rich kid that's trying to be, like they resent the fact that they're a rich kid that's been, sort of held back from the real world and all that, which is, not the strongest character to sort of introduce later into this group of like very, very strong characters. But I think they did it pretty well, although it could have been done a little bit better, I guess. Definitely not the weakest episode in the series, but it's not as good as episode 3 for sure. Probably give it like, I think an 8.5 to be generous. Lots of great sound design, lots of great animation, as always. This one in particular, that freaking tower, and like the concept behind it and how that ties into the politics. I love all of that. I'm a super sci-fi nerd, so that stuff's like right in my alley. So yeah, loved it. Could be better. Could be a lot worse.
Yeah, it was I like this episode. I would give it probably like a 7.5, 8. I liked how, like I mentioned earlier, how they gelled the story together with all those side stories that were happening. Where you could have lost the series really quickly that way if it didn't work. But they managed to pull it off. So I like that. I like a lot of storylines that are happening, and I like where it was going, because after episode 3, like we all mentioned, it's such a heavy episode. It's extremely heavy, and you kind of wondering how they're gonna, continue this, and they did a pretty good job with it. I didn't mind this episode. I'll probably 7.5, 8 for this episode. I want to thank everyone for coming on tonight. You guys were awesome in the panel. I really truly appreciate you guys coming on here and talking about this. It's always a good time talking with you guys, and all giving our points of view of the series. Everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining us. You guys rock. You guys are the best. I appreciate you all sincerely. I don't know if you guys want to go around quickly and just mention what you're doing this week. You guys can make the call there. If, like, I know Platoon, you're busy doing some videos. Zach, you released a video earlier this evening, did you not?
The video for my Kickstarter?
No, Zach's. Zach's.
Yeah, I did. It's a clip from the show with Cameron talking about Gina and the lawsuit stuff.
Okay. Go check that out, please.
Do it.
Yes, please go check that out. And of course, go ahead, Zach. Mention your channel and what you have coming up.
Coming up, I got I'll be releasing more clips now, and we got Circle of Jerks on Saturday night, 11:30 Central, and I am back Wednesday, 9 p.m. Central next week, talking about True Detective. We're doing like a whole bear theme. Like last few weeks, we did The Bear yesterday. Fantastic show, and I want Platoon to watch it. Eventually, it'll happen. I think I'll try.
Listen, it took me over a year a little close to a year to get him to watch Arcane. So you're going to be working at that for a while.
I get to all good things eventually, in the fullness of time, at the appropriate juncture.
Like any good wizard.
So go check out Zach's channel, please. I strongly encourage you to go do that. He's got some great stuff going on there.
True Detective sucks. Season 4. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Does it?
Oh,
I've heard.
Yes.
I've heard.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh god. And then we got Dawn. The Bears overrated. Still continuing. Zach, what do you got coming up, bud? You got your campaign running. You just got
Yeah, so I got funded yesterday. I have a sci-fi campaign that I launched, and it's pretty much, I'm putting all my time and effort into that, raising as much as I can. But more importantly, just kind of like spreading the message of like, my comic book, which is like Voyage, which focuses on an extraterrestrial alien on a hero's journey to find an ancient artifact and unite fix the universe, which is in a very, atrocious dystopian state. And like I'm trying to just do as much as I can to get that promoted and out.
Is that on Indiegogo there, Zach?
It's on Kickstarter this time.
Okay. I didn't have it
like a second chance or something, like because
it's a second chance. What's special about this one is the fact that for every $1,000 that I raise, everybody gets a bunch of free shit. So every $1,000 that keeps getting hit, you get another item from me that will be announced for every 500 I go in. So like if at 1,500, I'll announce like what you're getting for $2,000.
Everyone loves them perks.
Exactly.
Yeah, so go on Kickstarter, check this out. Please support the dude. He's worked extremely hard on this. And just support my boy Zach here. He's a great artist. He's got a great story here. He's got he has a cover by Chris Capagna. He's got some other work here. It's just a really, really well done book. So go check it out and buy a copy, please. Let's get to Andrew. What are you up to with your channel? Are you doing your channel this Sunday? Are you not doing your stream this Sunday? Or?
We keep forgetting.
I'm gonna message you on Sunday morning and be like, "Hey,
yeah, message me because I'll probably just be deep in my script for Temple of Doom that I'll just forget again." So yeah, Temple of Doom video, but that's about it for me.
Okay.
and stream if we remember. And also, I might be on BSUP, but that's it for me.
And speaking of BSUP, the man right here has his show on Mondays.
That keeps forgetting to invite guests.
Yes.
Cynic always does that, and then I keep forgetting that I have to do that. But I will try and remember this week. So yeah, BSUP will be back. Should be back at least on Monday. On the main and the second channel, actually, content's finally starting to ramp up a little bit because it's been like a quiet couple of months since Christmas. But there's going to be a short Madden Web video on the second channel, Lost Chord, probably tomorrow or Saturday. And by short, that's even short by my other people's standards, like 15 minutes. And then there'll be a main one.
No content there.
What
am I supposed
to
do?
But there'll be a main video following next week, but the short one will be on the second channel tomorrow. And the Echo video has finally cleared copyright, so that should go out on Sunday as well. So in the next sort of week, 2 weeks, it will be short Madden Web on tomorrow, Echo on Sunday, full Madden Web next weekend, ramping up for June following that. So it's going to be.
Is it Dune or June?
It is June.
I talked about the month for half a second. I was like, wait, what the
but
June
nothing until the month of June. I'm just going to go on holiday for the next 4 months. But yeah, steady stream of stuff coming out. So hopefully it lives up to expectations.
I would say go check out his channel, but I'm sure everyone has, and if you haven't, then what the hell have you been doing? Because this guy has some incredible content. He has like the most incredible breakdowns and reviews, and I'm talking like anywhere from like an hour to 8 hours. So go check him out, Little Platoon, on his channel. He's got some phenomenal stuff there. Hoosman, what's going on with you, brother?
Nothing much. It's Lent now, so I'm not going to be available next week because I'm taking intermittent internet breaks. So every other week I'm going to be off the internet. But if you DM me personally, just DM me not through a group chat, I'll see it because I still have to check my emails for school reasons. But you're not going to be seeing as much of me around. But I'm still going to be pumping away at that Censored 11 video. I'm pretty sure I'll have it out by the end of February because that was the plan, because I wanted to ring out Black History Month with it as a funny troll or joke.
Okay.
And then after that, I'm going to review Has Been Hotel because I fucking hate that show.
I never even heard of that.
It's horrible. It's a show where they make the devil the good guy and then the angels the bad guys, and then the angels are ruled by Adam instead of Saint Michael. It's so bad. The fucking avatars are so over designed. It's don't get me started.
Right. No, don't get an aneurysm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think
we'll
only
stop there.
Only sounds like me talking about Temple of Doom.
You start plugging his channel because it's more and more angry. He's like,
that was me with Temple of Doom last week.
Yes, it was. And Rebel Moon. Stupenzo, what do you got going on there, bud?
Well, me and Vex watched a really dumb movie that we liked a lot called My Demon Lover. And I uploaded it for Valentine's Day. Warner Brothers gave me some shit. Technically, the video, the second iteration of the editing is up, and it should be good. I'm going to wait until the dispute gets dropped. But for now, the video's on Rumble. There's a fake video on YouTube. It's just me singing karaoke for about 25 minutes.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah, it was pretty funny. I did it randomly in the middle of the night at 1 in the morning, and I was like, you know what? Let's just do a workaround. And the video's on Rumble, and yeah, it's pretty funny. Vex is a very funny lady. And the movie was very funny. It's about a guy who becomes a demon when he's sexually aroused. He's like a homeless street musician in New York.
So
it's
he's
a very
weird
movie.
It's basically Harvey Weinstein.
Kind of. Wow. He even There's a point where he turns into a demon. He kind of looks like Weinstein. Looks like Hillary Clinton's true form.
Oh god.
So yeah, check that out. And then Mondays, late night after MMM, usually stream about nonsense. So it's fun.
Well, I'll send you a link for Pre-Kings as well on Monday if you can hop on.
Oh right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Amateur, what do you got going on there, sir?
Still way too busy to be working on YouTube shit. Yeah. I'm gonna try. I got a big work project that like I'm trying to finish, like day job work stuff. So hopefully after that, I know I've been saying this for months, but it is what it is. Actually, my novel's getting pretty close to completion, but
hell yeah,
still don't want to really announce too much about that because hasn't seen an editor yet, so we'll see. But yeah, other than that, I'll be on here on Thursdays, and that's pretty much it. So
awesome.
Yeah, I'm the worst YouTuber. I upload like one video a year. Sometimes
but it's usually a banger. It's usually a banger.
I try to make sure it's a banger.
Yeah. Well, for myself, you can catch me this Saturday on Saturday Night Hypnosis on Hypnotics channel. Part of the crew there. We talk about pop culture events that are happening, and then I'll be on a bunch of streams this week. On Tuesday, I will have the one and only Chuck Dixon on this channel here. I'll be doing a sit-down one-on-one with him and talking about his career and his new project, Horseman. And then on Wednesday, I will have Jason Bascom on here, Unhinged, and we'll be talking about his campaign and having a one-on-one with him. And then Thursday, I'll be doing the Arcane thing with these guys here and doing episode 5, which I'll be looking forward to. So I'll be out and about on a few other streams here and there. You'll catch me. I'll be putting out a post on my YouTube channel. Again, I want to thank these guys for coming on. I want to thank everyone in the chat. You guys are awesome. And if you guys could be a friend, tell a friend about Diabolical Souls Presents and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. And also subscribe to all these guys down here because they work really hard and they got some great content. So with that being said, everyone have a good night. Have a great weekend. We'll catch you next week. And